Bam. All right. Voila. Let's kick off to another good show. We're going to go to, let me just quickly reverse that. Whoop. Let me quickly go through the intro. I can scroll up on this thing. It's not working. Hey, now it's working. Excellent. Super good. Right, where are we? Black Betterment Broadcast. I'm your host, Rap Raven. This actually is show 80. If you didn't know, now you know. Get to know, but you know already. Show 80. Very nice. All right. So, we'll go for the house rules. After much research, I've unfortunately concluded that currently black people are collectively inadequate. This is most unfortunate, but we're going to see if we can do something about that. That's right. When it comes to working as a team, black people tend to find a bit of a challenge, but that's why we're here to work on that. How do we best work as a team? Group goals, that good stuff. Oh yeah, all right, cool. So of course we're gonna send out links so we can communicate, but naturally, when people come together, anxiety might flow. So we have a 4D values. So remember when you're talking, try to do black betterment work. Please remember try to have discipline, dedication, discernment, and dignity. That's your 4Ds there, mate. Please have those 4Ds. You'll be doing okay. Doing okay. Fantastic. Now. Try not to use derogative language if possible, more descriptive language. I always recommend that. Helps very much. So if you can do that, please do that. Voila, voila, voila. Nice. All right. Now, what is Black Betterment? Black Betterment is black people helping black people on black issues for betterment. That's right. So that means this entire broadcast is about the lifestyle of black people helping black people on black issues. So if you tune to this broadcast and you hear the word Black Betterment, that's what it is. Black people helping black people on black issues. So feel free to start your own broadcast and your own networks based on that principle of the lifestyle of black people helping black people on black issues. Now, how will that help black people? Because if no one else does it, it won't get done. There you go. Little secret there. Some people might not know it, but now you know it. Excellento. All right, we will be showing some videos here. We've blackified them just to make sure they blend in with the branding of the actual show, but just to do the copyright disclaimer stuff. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowances made for the fair use purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that otherwise may infringe non-profit educational use, tips the balance of favor and fair use. Yes, speed reading. Yes, kill the speed of a millipede. Anyway, so that means we're going to play some videos and basically, it might not be in our copyright. Oh dear. All right. So today's a fantastic, super wonderful, magnificent show is why should black people have Why should black people have dignified interactions with non-black people? All right. What does that mean? And we see two images on there of two black people and white people interacting. And is this dignified? Maybe to some it is, maybe to some it isn't. We don't know. We're gonna go through today's show and watch some videos and talk about this fantastic topic that we need to talk about. Do black people and white people, for the most part, have a dignified interaction? Some you would say yes. There might be some instances that you would say no. Do you find that maybe the no might trump the yes in many situations? Is there solutions for that? I suspect there is. Also, the mindset of many black people, who might feel a certain way and behave a certain way when they're around non-black people. We need to address that, make sure everyone's okay. Mental health is something we need to be aware of, and some people say that it's hard for a black person not to be inflicted with some kind of mental health living in this system of the history that many black people have, if not all. So yeah, and sometimes decisions might be connected to that without people even knowing, And some people also have a warped reality of what power is and what expectations of a people is and what dignified behavior is, if they've even understand such a concept. Some people's day-to-day interactions might not even understand how to be dignified. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to listen to the wise words of Brother Neely Fuller first. And as we listen to that, we're going to say some still images that I've placed in there, just as it goes through, and I'll focus and we'll talk about some of the stuff. And then I'll do another report, which something that seems to be black people getting kind of on code, which is always good. When black people collectively do stuff that's in the interest of black people, that's very good. Put black people first in the needs of black people. But we're going to look at people actually going off code, and then we'll go with people on code. But we're going to listen to Brother Neely Fuller as he explains some of his ideas. If I can find it, where is it? Oh dear, it's this one. Let's go. Rewind.
Yellow.
What?
Basically, the interaction between non-white people, black, brown, red, yellow, whatnot, with each other, and why is such amount of chaos, a huge amount of chaos, animosity, killing all over the world among the people who are classified as non-white, and a lack of constructive activity And it's because they do not have a quality relationship with each other. And the reason they don't have a quality relationship with each other, in my opinion, based on the evidence, is because of the system of white supremacy. And the system of white supremacy is set up to cause these things among non-white people. It also is predicated on the proposition that there's not supposed to be a quality relationship between white people and non-white people. Black people and white people are not supposed to have a quality relationship. And we don't have a quality relationship in aggregate. That's worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
There's no quality relationship between white people and black people, you might say, to state it in a concise fashion. It's not a quality relationship. It's a tragic arrangement. And this tragic arrangement consists of what? How would you describe it if you were going to describe it in detail? In all of the 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. What is the arrangement between black people and white people on this planet here in 2015? It is a non-quality relationship, non-quality in the form of a tragic arrangement, and I call it the 3 T's. It's the basic arrangement between the people is what you have basically is this tragic arrangement called tacky,
Mm-hmm.
trashy, terroristic. I call it the 3 T's. It's tacky. If you just watch the interaction between white people and black people on a day-to-day level, wherever they happen to be, whether it's in economics, in education, this tragic arrangement consists of those 3 T's, one or the other, or all 3.
There you go. That was Brother Neely Fuller talking about the 3 T's: tragic, trashy, and terroristic, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly. And as we saying, under the system of white supremacy, this seems to be how many, if not all, interactions between black people and white people, or white people and non-white people, seem to pan out. And the reason we're looking at that and this and that now is because, question we're asking for this show is, why should black people have dignified interactions with non-black people? So we look through there. We're going to cover 2 spectrums today. Let's see if this thing changes. It's like, oh, it does. Good. So you see there, I'm going through images of, when this is recent events as well as historical events. Back in the old days, not too long ago, Prince William and all the princes, whatever, would go in and, they go to Aboriginal places, and, the indigenous people would, carry them like royalty, this kind of stuff, but when you look at these kind of images, I don't know if this is, in that context, it might look cool, but generally you push it back and you look at the history of colonization and exploitation and stuff. This is an image that you might have seen, many years ago, and not a good dynamic. And then obviously there's comic books now where they write. I remember there's one that's circulating of I think Tintin being carried by blackface. I haven't got it here. Maybe I should put it in there. It would be good to see. This kind of stuff. So it's a reminiscence of that kind of stuff. Never good, never good, never good. But just awareness is always good. And you never expect the white person to be aware of any stuff. But I would try to get an education to black people to just be aware. And funny enough, which seems to be good. We will move to it later in a segue, but there are some black people aware of that dynamic, and they're trying to do something about it, and we shall cover that in a bit. But we'll move on just slightly. And there's also another tragic arrangement we have to talk about, and that is like the concept of miscegenation and stuff, which is black. Well, I guess what they call the mixing of races and stuff. And I think, obviously, the Black Betterment Broadcast, we understand that black love is one part of the holistic solution of black betterment. So we definitely promote a constructive black man, constructive black woman, make a constructive black family. That's a solution, definitely. But people find themselves in the world, and they might find themselves in misogynist relationships and this kind of stuff. And we said that when you do that, try to be dignified, if possible. Some people might struggle because the very nature of why they might want to get together might be to go up against being dignified. But I I'm bad with names. Never been good. I think her name is Jodie. This image was circulating. Where is it now? I've written down because I need to write things down because I don't write things down. Thinking, have I closed all this down? Have I really closed down the entire? Ah, come on, really? Hold on, give me 17 seconds, fam. Ah, technology. All right, let me see if I can find that. Press the shortcut button, make that works. Kill the speed of a millipede. Let me type that word. Da da da. Now it comes up. Da da. All right, let me put it to the side. So it's not too hard to find. Da da. Here we go. Where are we? Back to the live. Back, even though I was gone. Big up, all the family. Big up Tasha. Big up. Let me just put people swing there. Da da. Big up. Right. Where are we? Okay. Yeah. So what was that? What was it there? Jodie Turner Smith. There she is. Let me type her name in while we look at a fantastic picture of her husband. Yeah. So this picture's been circulating. It's a lady, probably British actress. I think she might reside in America. Could be wrong. Let me go. Wikipedia never lies to me. Yeah, oh, she's from England. That's great. There you go. Oh, Jamaican parents, even better. That makes the show even more fantastic. So yeah, we have a dark-skinned black woman from born from England, at least born there. Her parents are from Jamaica. Big up. And yeah, she's I think she's like quite raunchy in her approach to her marketing and this kind of stuff. Freedom, all the freedom stuff. But she's married to a European man, and that's the thing where it's like I would ask women and men to be dignified in all their actions, especially in the system we are. It's always good, especially with kids watching. But you're your own person, do what you want, all that. But what I would say is understanding the dynamic when you are actually in a misogynist relationship, like where you're a white person, black person, and you're together, and how when you start parading certain behavioral patterns in the public for art and for pleasure and this kind of stuff, how it could be perceived, and also how it might be reminiscent of the past, and things like obviously, enslavement and trapping black women into enslavement and having them as concubines, this kind of stuff. So we definitely want to distance ourselves from that kind of image, if possible, and obviously what goes on in the privacy of because obviously there is rumors that once many of these relationships go behind the door, there's certain practices they do that certain words they might shout out that reminisce of those old times to play kind of role play. Please keep that to yourselves. Definitely don't want to see that. But when they start spreading that on the screen and you start seeing things that are reminiscent to the past, we've got to be very cautious. Here we have an image of the lady from Jamaica, Jodie Turner Smith, and her husband. I'm sure his name will be in the thing somewhere. Can't find it now, but his name. And and then he's obviously dressed in a suit, and she's dressed in no suit. And this is some kind of promotion they're doing for something. If you Google her name, a lot of naked stuff comes up with her with European men, and they always seem to be clothed and she's not, whatever. But yeah, just be aware of it, family. If you are a person who practices miscegenation, this kind of stuff, and you're married to a non-black person, a European person, or whatever, a white person, just be wary that these things you do you know, could actually. There we go. He's Canadian, not European. Right. So just to help those. Sometimes we use language interchangeably. Sometimes we say black people, we say African people, and we're referring to that as synonyms. And we say European people. We're talking about white people, European people. Even if you're born in Canada, just like you have African American, you have European American, all that kind of stuff, and European Canadian. I mean, many words, but just and that's once again, many black people are so in a different realm that words don't really understand, and but ultimately this show's about black people, and there's a dynamic between black and white, and the origin. Some say that Europeans come from the Caucasus Mountains, and and they say origin black people come from Africa, or all people come from Africa, but obviously by the time the Africans were in the Caucasus Mountains, metamorphosis took place where all the characteristics, the phenotypes that we describe as Europeans, is based around that Caucasus Mountain area. This is what some people say. There you go. So yeah, there you go. So that's what it is. So yeah, so the moral of the story is obviously try to be aware of when you're in these relationships, friendships, or loverships, or marriages, or cohabitations and this kind of thing. That you want to make sure that you're not spelling out to the public, just subservience and dominance from a yesteryear. Never good, never good. And we'll listen to Brother Lee Fuller as we're looking at images of the royal family. Now, the reason we're looking at the royal family as well is because we've also got another message from Jamaica. So we'll listen to that, and we'll jump on that in a bit. So let's listen to the video. Rewind.
We're going to turn now to the royal visit to the Caribbean, not going exactly as planned. Prince William and Kate facing more protests as they visit Jamaica. Ariel Russia has more for us. Good morning to you, Ariel.
All right.
Good morning to you, TJ. There appeared to be some trouble brewing in Paradise with protests planned as the couple touched down in Jamaica. But their reception in Trenchtown seemed to tell a bit of a different story. Crowds appeared overjoyed to welcome the royal couple as they toured and even enjoyed an evening of reggae at one of Bob Marley's old haunts. You can see them having a bit of fun as well with the Jamaican bobsledding team. This is day 5 of their Caribbean tour, dubbed the Charm Offensive, and it appears the couple has their work cut out for them. There are demands in Jamaica for the monarchy to apologize and for the British government to pay reparations for slavery in the island nation. There is also a debate about whether to keep the Queen as head of state or go the way of Barbados and become a republic. TJ?
All right, Ariel, thank you so much.
Very nice. So what we're saying there's the royal family have gone on tour. They do their kind of like touring thing in the countries and shake hands and take pictures and this kind of stuff. And obviously, in Jamaica, they're saying that we want reparations from the government. That makes sense. They want apologies from the monarchy. That kind of makes sense as well. Yes, definitely. And they also want to remove the Queen as the head of state. Like take off. I think I don't know if she's still in the money. Probably still is, whatever. But remove from all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's a very on-code black betterment response, really, isn't it? That's where we're looking at black people looking for something in the black people's best interest. So definitely a tick box there. Voila. So we're showing 2 different dynamics between black people who are on code and talking truth to power and remembering the past and not trying to repeat it in any way. And then we'll segue into images.
Just stated.
There you go of the past of just getting carried like it was yesteryear through the Congo, through the Melanesia, through wherever you want to go. Yeah, what I mean. Yesteryear carried everywhere. And then obviously we ended with a picture of miscegenation, of a yesteryear of naked black woman, promoting her art, but with a white man in a suit. This could have been 200 years ago, 300, 400 years ago, whatever. It could be anything. Same dynamic used to happen, but now it's art. And that we just want to make sure we don't forget that's why we teach history here, and we also preach black betterment, try to put black people, black empowerment, black-centered stuff, and subservience, not really good. It's not necessary anymore. Remember Black Love we promote as well. So, this dynamic isn't possible in a Black Love dynamic. And hopefully we wouldn't see this kind of behavior amongst 2 black couples anyway. But if you are going to have lovers outside the community, try not to undermine yourself and your people. I know some people say, well, I do this for myself. But unfortunately, when black women are very limitedly shown, unfortunately, in any kind of good media. And this is obviously because of many reasons. But one is obviously deliberately. 2, because black people don't practice black betterment and control more media products dedicated to show black constructive imagery. So that means, if we're seeing limited and you're seeing these kinds of things of naked women with white men or whatever, not, in arty kind of stuff. It's not a good look. But yeah, I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is what we should be doing. I don't know. You let me know. You let me know. Now, what I'm going to do as I ramble and rant, as I tend to do, is I'm going to ask a question. Why should black people have dignified interactions with non-black people? What is the point? Why should we do that? While we do that as well, where's that thing? Here we go. I believe this is the one. This is the link. So feel free to jump in or just be there. It's always good to hear the people's opinion. This show it bounces off black people. All black people are welcome to come and offer the 10 pence piece, as long as we be constructive. May I take this time as well? I'm going to also, this won't actually work, but in the link, if you go there, please, we haven't put it properly yet, but we're starting a new dedicated Instagram page where we can help black people do more consistently with branding and all that good stuff. So feel free to join type Black Betterment Building in Instagram. You'll find it. But also the link is there. It might not work because I think they block you from certain kind of links. Could be wrong. But please, if you can, join the Betterment Broadcast. The idea of this show is to get bigger and bigger and bigger, invite more people, all that good stuff, and then try to create the culture of awareness, because I think awareness is important. The awareness of the what to do to fix this problem of collective black inadequacies, which is a byproduct of systematic white supremacy, that kind of stuff, and a legacy therefore of it. And the solution we're pushing is the lifestyle of black betterment. What is that? That's black people helping black people and black issues. Sounds very simple, but you'd be surprised that actually little to no, I'm going to say that again, little to no black people practice it. That's right. So if you go out in the world and you ask black people, do you practice black betterment? And what's that? Well, it's black people helping black people on black issues. They'll say no. Unfortunately, many of our people have been compromised. We're looking at an image now of a very wonderful black sister born in England, from Jamaica. But, she is she's married a European, a white gentleman from Canada, as we found out. And is her art is to promote naked herself with her thing. Now, this is art. Obviously, she's probably none the wiser. Well, like I said, when you have little media coverage, these images don't really work well, as well as, black people carrying their royal family on these kinds of phones, devices. Right now. Right. Should black people have undignified relationship with whites instead? Would you please explain your thesis? Okay. Well, should black people have undignified relationships? No, we should have dignified relationships. Yeah. So this behavior we're seeing now could be described as undignified. I think dignified relationships is, if we have any relationship with anyone, it should be dignified. But really, the most important relationship a black person can have as it connects to black betterment is that with other black people. So I recommend you be dignified with everyone, but acting undignified, unworthy of honor, isn't the best strategy of just a life practice, and it usually doesn't go the way you probably want to go, and also it's not a good look generally. All right, so just something to think about. Okay, right now. So, family, I've put the link in there. I believe so. I don't believe I'm wrong. Feel free to jump in whenever you please. Let me see if I can. What we're gonna do for those who are joining now who missed, we'll play it one more time. Just one more, just to hear a brother Needy Fuller, so he will just break down this thing while I get the other stuff ready. Have a listen. Oh yeah.
Basically, the interaction between non-white people, black, brown, red, yellow, whatnot, with each other, and why is such amount of chaos, a huge amount of chaos, animosity, killing all over the world among the people who are classified as non-white, and a lack of constructive activity. And it's because they do not have a quality relationship with each other. And the reason they don't have a quality relationship with each other, in my opinion, based on the evidence, is because of the system of white supremacy. And the system of white supremacy is set up to cause these things among non-white people. It also is predicated on the proposition that there's not supposed to be a quality relationship between white people and non-white people. Black people and white people are not supposed to have a quality relationship. And we don't have a quality relationship in aggregate. That's worldwide. Mm-hmm. There's no quality relationship between white people and black people, you might say, to state it in a concise fashion. It's not a quality relationship. It's a tragic arrangement. And this tragic arrangement consists of what? How would you describe it if you were going to describe it in detail? In all of the 9 areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. What is the arrangement between black people and white people on this planet here in 2015? It is a non-quality relationship, non-quality in the form of a tragic arrangement, and I call it the 3 T's. It's the basic arrangement between the people is what you have.
All right.
Basically, is this tragic arrangement called tacky, trashy, terroristic. Right. I call it the 3 T's. Right. It's tacky. if you just watch the interaction between white people and black people on a day-to-day level, wherever they happen to be.
Right. Now, the thing is, what I was going to say as well, is, we always look at patterns, perception, this kind of stuff. And, when black people interact with non-black people, always be careful. And one thing, the reason why black Betterment lifestyle is so important is because naturally, the culture that we live in, it doesn't promote black people helping black people. And because of this truth, you tend to find that black people lag behind in many, if not everything. So you have to have like an actual lifestyle that dictates it. If you don't, then things naturally. So if we switch back to, I think a few weeks ago, funny enough, we were talking about the Supreme Court picking. There was this greatness that a black woman is going to be in America. That is someone who's in the Supreme Court, and that's really good. So one of the things I always say is we do appreciate symbolic gestures, like seeing black people in places. But there's always like a line of order, isn't there? And it's like you tend to find that you'll get a black face, and that black face won't necessarily do anything that's in the best interest of black people, whatever. So I think if we look last week, I think Tangi Brown Jackson, well done, won. Now we're looking at people who are going to win. I think we broke it down that most, if not all, are mad to European men. That's a pattern there we have to watch. Is that something that helps people out? Is that something that being successful, just you're around when you're successful, you're white, or is it something that's pushed forward as a culture? So we have to watch. But once again, the winner has got the prize as well as a European husband. Excellent. There you go. And also we were looking at the UK, and this is how it stands in the Houses of Parliament and our office. So once again, I'm seeing a pattern. This pattern will probably happen forever. I'm not saying it's deliberate, might be. But because we're aware of it, we can break it. We can try to say, well, why don't we try to have black people helping black and black issues? And that, therefore, meaning the chances are when they want to help black people, they'll be more pushed towards marrying black women and vice versa. But could be wrong. Anyway, we have a welcome, Born Rich. Welcome, brother.
Hey, what's going on, brother? Brother Raven?
Good. Good to see you here. First time, brother?
Yeah. First time on your panel. I think we had some conversations on the Discord, but I've never been on the panel.
Well, welcome, brother.
But
yeah. So, like I said, today's topic, family, is where is it? Let's find it. It's why should black people have dignified interactions with non-black people? So we're just showing imagery and stuff of when black people and non-black people, white people, interact. You tend to find there might be sometimes it might be undignified. And I think we'll listen to Brother Needy Fuller talking about the three T's: trashy, tragic, and terroristic of interactions. And how do we monitor that, and how do we minimize that if possible? And that's, I guess, what today's shows. Or is it going on? Or maybe it's not there. I don't know. Any views on this particular thing, my brother?
No. I mean, just the interactions with non-black people is, I have to speak like for my personal experience. I only deal with non-black people is when it comes to business and commerce.
Right.
That's it. Yeah, I don't have non-black people in my home. I don't go to their home. If I work with non-black people, but like I said, that's business and commerce. You understand? I have to shop sometimes with white people, maybe in the same grocery stores, but it's always a business and commerce relationship. And I implore black people to only have that sort of relationship with white people. Because we do get this thing where we do have the mentality to where we think interacting with white people or being around non-black people it's a status type of deal, right? It's like you get your money, you leave the hood, and you move to the suburbs, and I have a better status. I take my kid out of the majority black school, put them in a majority white private school, and now that's a status symbol. So I do try to implore people to, shop black, deal black, date black, the whole nine. And that's some things I stand on. I like that you made that coalition between all of the Supreme Court justices and their non-black spouses. And that shit kind of sounds intentional, Raven. I don't know. You said you don't know if it's intentional. I don't either. But man, that kind of seems intentional, brother.
Well, let's go back there now. So basically, we look at pan perceptions, and I think there's a question in the audience. How is pointing out the white spouse helpful to black men? Oh, good, glad you asked, brother Stanley in the signing across the groups. Yeah. So what we're noticing is, so basically, this is people in the UK, and this is people in America, and different places, but the same patterns happen where whenever you get people who are in charge of making decisions or trying to get in charge of making decisions, and they have black faces, they tend to have European spouses. Now, what we're trying to see is that a pattern? Is that like, is this a qualifying state? And also, if a person has a black partner, how connected are they to particular black issues? Can they be heavily influenced by their non-black partner? The fact that they're with a non-black partner, could that mean that already they might even are they even synchronized with the needs of black people? Like, but this is a deep question that we're going to unpack as time goes by. But we promote Black Betterment, yeah. So how Black Betterment works is black people helping black people on black issues. So we understand that one of the issues is family life and marriage, this kind of stuff. So naturally, if we have a successful black man, we recommend that he's constructive and finds a constructive black woman, and then they create a constructive black family. That's one of the strategies that we push forward. You see, by not actually articulating this, if we just let things go when we talk about love and this kind of stuff, what tends to happen is what's on the screen at the moment. You see, anytime a black person gets anywhere, they're more likely to be approached or pushed towards non-black women, and that's never good. But then we look in the States, it seems like this new black, because this is what they're promoting, wasn't it? A black woman who's going to be in the Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
Once again, we see the pattern. So I don't know, family out there. I don't know if you guys see that pattern. But once again, if you ask me what the solution is, and this is going to sound very simple, and it's something that we haven't really done too much. It is the way of helping yourself into a lifestyle. This works for veganism, because veganism is a lifestyle, and it will work for Black Betterment. And by having the rules that Black Betterment is black people helping black people on black issues, we know that the primary in every conversation has to be what is in it for the black people. And we have to always ask, when we do behavioral patterns, can that behavioral pattern be used as a template that black people can follow? So I'm not here to dictate to people, do what you want to show life. If you're going to marry someone and you and we want it as a template, definitely in the Black Betterment, you want to marry a black person. Also, we were looking at behavioral patterns here. At this Jamaican ancestry born British UK lady whose her image is circling around the scene at the moment, because she's obviously on posing on her balcony naked with her European husband, a white husband with a suit on. And we're saying, because this is artistic, this kind of stuff, but this is very reminiscent of the slave days and that kind of stuff. And also black women are very limited in when they get appearances on TV or any kind of media. That's why, once again, controlling your own media is very important, so you can remedy this. Until this happens, just be very aware if you're going to appear in mainstream media or any kind of media of how it could be interpreted. So this is something that we have to promote people with awareness to not try to recreate that kind of behavior pattern. What's his next question? Obama, Madad, etc. Have you compiled black leaders with black spouses? Yes, we have. Yes, we do. But one of the dimensions we want to look at is something for you to research is in Africa, especially Pan-Africa, Africa, and Africa today. How many African leaders have had European wives? And then we can then jump all the way to Europe and ask how many European leaders have had African wives or black wives. And you'll see that once again that dynamic is heavily shifting, where it's almost night and day, pun intended, all that kind of stuff. So here's the thing you have to be aware of. That's something you do to research. I know some people don't want to believe that black people are in a bit of a predicament, and that actually is a planned process and there's a history to it. But when you acknowledge that reality, then you can actually create lifestyles that correct that. Now, I'll put the link out there, family. We're joined by Born Rich.
Yep.
Go ahead, brother. So, any other thing? You're more welcome to just jump in and say what we need to
say.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, man. This Supreme Court justice thing. I mean, you pretty much hit on everything. It's like, can she? I guess I'll ask you. Do you think that Katana? I forget her name too. Katana, the new Supreme Court justice. Do you think that she could truly have the best interests of black people if she's going home to a white man every night?
Well, I think I say it's more of a collection of challenges, right? So the more you do a certain kind of thing or less of a kind of thing, the more challenging it's going to be. If you are not married to a black person, yes, you can be handy and helpful to black people. But then the question is, from a visual standpoint, already the marketing is going to be in your favor. But also, we understand that households have divisions. So certain things that make a lot of sense to black people through the experience might not make any sense to European people, white people. So because of this kind of internal argument that goes in the house could actually make people actually take no interest in doing anything for black people. I've noticed if they're in mixed relation couples, what might make some people disinterested is the fact that they have a European wife or a European husband, and they don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to say things that make things problematic. So when the whole Black Lives Matter, this kind of stuff going on, there was a lot of fighting going on in the States and around the world in between mixed relationships. Also, when the whole Trump thing came out and all that kind of stuff, you had that dynamic inside, and this is dynamics you don't tend to get within black relationships. However, it wouldn't even matter. I think this is another thing that we mentioned, that black people are collectively inadequate. And I think how we're going to remedy that is by actually knowing that one of the solutions to black people is constructive black man with constructive black woman, making a constructive black family. I mean, this just has, if we don't understand this, but if we don't even start correctly, then this shows why today is so wishy-washy. Now, usually you tend to find people who want to talk against such concepts are people who's engaged or married to non-black people. Now, what I say, here's a trick. There's a trick that is very challenging to learn, but we can do it. We have to admit that just because we do something, we don't have to promote it as a template. Just because we do something as an individual, we don't have to push that on the media or in the front of the eye for everyone to look at as something that is part of a collective betterment. So if you're unfortunately not married to another black person or you're with another black person, that's your lifestyle, that's fine. But to then try to argue against the basic concept that black betterment is constructive black man, constructive black woman. This is why, unfortunately, when you type the word pro-black into Google, one of the questions that comes up is, can you be pro-black and not married to a black person? And this is part of the collective inadequacies that black people suffer, that even that basic understanding of how to produce black people is forgotten. The primary way of producing black people is forgotten. And I think that we need to get back into the basics now. And when we get back to the basics, then we will remedy scenarios where we turn our back on political systems that we feel that represent us, and we'll create political systems that do represent us, and all our attentions will go towards them, and we'll look at them, and they'll all follow the code. Now, as we're looking on, let me read it because I sent us quite a few questions. Let's see if we can read them. Just try to be kind of polite. What is that is what I'm asking you. Can you post your research, please? I don't know what you're asking. Black, I think you spelled leadership wrong. Couples with mixed couples. Well, on the street at the moment, you're looking at. So this is, for you don't know, is every single black male in the UK who is a political figure. They're all with European women, or some are gay and they're with European men. So it's happening as well. But either way, the choice is European. There you go. So okay. Otherwise, this black betterment should rely on solid fact. Okay, I don't know what you're saying, brother. But what I would say is this: the idea is either black people helping black people on black issues is a good idea, or it's a bad idea. Either it's going to help black people or it's not. So that's something we have to really unpack. The family, you're also welcome to jump in if you want to be constructive, because we do look forward to questions there, especially to unpack with ideas work. But now that we're looking at the screen, one idea that we're pushing through that we're going to be helping the community to help us with, as we refine, define, and all that kind of decline, good stuff, whatever, is where are we? We are looking at boom, the concept of, where are you? Here we go. And it's in color. The concept of the black custodian. Now, one thing we're saying is obviously the challenge we have is left untampered. Black people will tend to gravitate towards activities that do not benefit black people collectively. That's just the way the nature is. So because of this truth, we have to then, as a community, start talking together and creating the infrastructure to create people who are dedicated, where it makes sense culturally for a black person to be synchronized over black people. The concept we're putting forward is the black custodian. A black custodian, let's break that down. It's a designation, and it is the action of choosing someone to hold an office or post a black person chosen by black veterans to publicly represent the collective best interests of black people. So we're trying to set up a designation, and basically what we're saying is we're going to create rules of what we want black people who go publicly to actually represent when they go public. Like, how do we want them to be synchronized? So one thing we're saying is there needs to be a training degree before a person can become a black custodian. And we also start thinking about the concept of kung fu, karate, this kind of stuff, where people have belts, but we're going to use stars, and we're going to use the color stars. So basically, if you want to be a black custodian, this is a proto concept at the moment. We just share it with the community because that's what we do here. We share out loud. The open starts is openly confess to black people or the world that you want to be a custodian and you agree to the code of custodians. Now, the code of custodians, what we're talking about, if I can quickly we're refined as we go. But just in your confession, there should be things that correlate in black people's interests. So we're saying black love, black economics, black defense, black health, black ownership, black centeredness, black collectiveness, black enterprise, black politeness, and black constructiveness. If these are the things that you correlate towards, we're going to use that to correlate a code of conduct to show that these are the things that you push, promote, and pass around, blah blah blah, right? So if you want to be a white belt or a white star as a black custodian and you confess this, confessing that you do that is how you get your white star. That's the equivalent of going to a judo gym and then you go, I want to do judo, and the judo master gives you a white belt. You say you agree that you're going to go there, do the kung fu and the karate or the judo, whatever it is, and then you get your white belt because you confess you're going to be, and you're going to try your best to be, these kind of rules and that good stuff. Now, how you get the yellow star, which is next one up, is you've joined an institution or collective idea that is actively dedicated to black betterment, or you consistently fund an institution or collective idea that is dedicated to black betterment. What does that mean? That means there's going to be institutions that are there to help black people, right? By joining them, you get a yellow star. So that means you're joining an industry or institution that has confessed or is dedicated to black betterment. Black people helping black people, black issues. Also, some people might not join, but what they might do is fund. That's also important. Like, we make money, we can actually, because we're too busy working in our work, we can't maybe do certain kind of activities. That makes sense. But what you can do with the money you make is actually consistently fund. So if you're a person who is consistently funding institutions, then this could give you a yellow star. You could be a funding custodian who gets a yellow star. Now, how do you get your brown star? The next one up. Within the institution or collective idea, you demonstrate great leadership or achievement. So you have someone who's in an institution doing so much, dedicating so much, and you've become like a leadership. You're known for it. You're quite exceptional, and maybe we can even tailor that to someone who spends a lot of money. And so we'll break that down, right? Now, the black star, we're here, the one we're trying to achieve. How you become a black belt or black star is you have created or lead an institution or collective idea that is actually dedicated to black betterment. So you're someone who has you've created something. You're a leader in it, and also we're going to add as well to if you're a brown star, but by demonstrating and becoming a leader in that context and doing it through the years, and being true to your principles, you could also then become a black star. This is just me throwing out proto ideas of how the community can try to train black people to help black people. And it sounds very weird when we say that, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But you're right. You're onto something, Raven. Some people, like, I may think this is just automatic information that every black person would know, but every black person doesn't know this. So this is dope. This is dope. To give you something, you label them or congratulate them with that. Okay, you openly confess, here's your white star. Or you are a white star. I don't know how I would label it, but when it comes to black betterment, you're a white star.
Yeah. When it comes, so you're a white star black custodian. Now we only want black star custodians to represent black people, but so far you're a yellow star or a brown star, and you're on your way to become a black star. When you become a black star custodian, then we want to see you on TV. We want to see you in public places talking, because it's almost like when a judo goes to fight other judo dojos, they only let the black belts go forward. You see, they don't put the yellow belts. That wouldn't be necessary. They haven't earned the right to be karate chopping everyone yet. You know what I mean?
No, I got you. And then that way we don't have a bunch of what I call mush mouth Negroes out here speaking on behalf of black people. I love that. I like that.
There you go. Now, family, I've pushed the link out there. If anyone wants to jump in, you're always more than welcome. Today's topic is the question is, why should black people have dignified interaction with non-black people? and we were looking at historical situations where a lack of awareness. I would say a lack of awareness. If we go on here,
Makes
that just lack of awareness of behavioral patterns. And recently in the news we understand that the royal family's Prince William, I believe, he went to the West Indies, and all the West Indian countries are getting on code and saying we actually want reparations, apologies, and we want to remove the Queen of head of state. This is a very on code behavioral pattern. This is what we're talking about. You see everyone speaking of that one truth, making people understand that we want to practice black betterment. We want to do things that's in black people's best interest. It isn't in black people's best interest to parade you on top of these kinds of phone devices and not acknowledge that historically this country enslaved that country and took a tremendous amount of wealth and built up their empire while this other country has been suffering and people have died in the trillions. So my thing towards reparations, I definitely think all nations should ask for reparations. But I think whether they get or not isn't what I'm talking about. I think it's a great way to unify and a great way to stay on code. For example, once again, I give you working examples you can use. You might be, when you talk about the importance of why a black man should be a black woman forever, this kind of stuff, whatever. We could go back to past, like when the black man was being brutally raped and killed and murdered. It was the black woman who was there for him, and vice versa. And the black woman has been there consistent. And you could say that oaths were made back then that, I won't leave you until we get some kind of justice. So black women become the primary there. But then moving forward, you might have someone today who says, okay, well, how can we rectify it today? Well, you could say, well, I tell you what, you're a non-black person. I know you want to marry me. I know you want to have half my resources because that's what marriage kind of works out to. How about we do it this way? How about we say, I'll marry you if you go to your government and you get them to do reparations. Once you do that, then we can talk about the concept of marriage. Let's see if how many non-black people will do this, if they will rush to their government to protest and fight for reparations in order to get married to the black man. But you tend to find that won't happen. Once again, when people talk about marriage and love, they talk about love and Disney. But we do know that marriage is so much more than love. Love is built and developed. It is an economic base and it is a community building base. And this is what people forget about. And we're saying that, if you do want to marry into the community, then, we can have that conversation after you've got reparations done. That way, that keeps everyone back on track. And that we know that's going to take for a long time and we can practice what we're doing there. Any questions?
I love it. No, I love that. I love that because even you, and that's crazy. I have switched my talking points to the reparations topic. Is because I get that a lot. It's white people that say, okay, we know that you're about black empowerment. What can I do to help? And in the past, I used to say, you can either donate or go infiltrate for us. And when I say infiltrate, I mean go around your family, always be on alert, come back to the black people and let us know who's practicing white supremacy in your family, at your job, and all of that. I've kind of switched that now because we're speaking more about reparations. So when when non-black people say, hey, Born Rich, how can I help you in your movement? I say demand reparations. Demand. Don't try to deflect. You shouldn't have to ask a whole bunch of questions. You know the debt is owed and you know what it's owed for. So demand reparations. If it ever comes down to a vote, you should be on the front lines telling non-black people to vote yes to reparations. So great. You saying everything that I want to say, brother.
Excellent. That's good. And that's good that everyone on the same page. And I think that correlates with what's happening in Jamaica, where they're all on the same page saying, we want these things. And this is great that in America, the same thing's happening, in the Caribbean, things happening, and getting all black people on the same page. Like what says happen is a lot of black people don't know we're compromised mentally. In the fact of every time we talk, we shuffle and we look down, and we are very apologetic for basic survival requests or basic inward solution based initiatives, and we're going to try to work on that. And but the only way we can work on that is by having actual open dialogue and actual rule sets. You see, and I think before we push, because we'll talk about it. Like, yes, black betterment is black people helping black people, black issues. So now we're going to break down how black betterment works for those who are new. So black betterment is done into two categories. So there are two categories of black betterment. Now, if you are practicing black betterment, you can either be a black betterer or a black betterment builder. What are the two rule sets? Let's break that down. So a black betterer is a black person practicing a lifestyle choice involving dedicating the enhancing the livelihood of black people, specifically, locally and globally, in all areas of people activity whenever it's constructively possible. So in a nutshell, if a black person is trying to help black people everywhere they go, whenever it's constructively possible, that's what it is, right? But there's a second type of black betterer, and that's a black betterment builder. And a black betterment builder is a black person practicing a lifestyle choice involving dedicating and enhancing the livelihood of black people, specifically, locally or globally, in one or more areas. Meaning, this person doesn't necessarily do it in all activities or areas, but they might just, they want to open up a school of training black children how to make motherboards, or a music school to train girls how to play the violin. There's black girls, this kind of stuff, right? So it's not something you do all the time, but it's something that you do, and you can see a building at one area. The reason why I put this is because naturally some lifestyles that people do will take them out of the fold of black betterment. Like I said, if you want to be a black betterer when you do get married, when you do have children, and when you do get a mortgage and this kind of stuff, you do that with a black woman or vice versa, a black man. And obviously some people won't be in that, they won't understand the dynamic of that. So in that context, they can never be seen black betterers, but they can be black betterment builders, no matter how much they do, without some of these basic principles. And that's what I'm saying. Having basic principles like, is it important that constructive black man goes to constructive black woman? As the years go by and the research go by, I think there is only one answer, and that's yes. I think one of the challenges black people face is we talk about unity and solidarity, but you can't have that if you're not within your own group marrying and having second generation wealth and that kind of stuff. So, question, how will reparations help black people in Manchester, London, and okay, well, here's what it is, right? You've got to the way I see things is there are black people all over the world who've gone through certain things, right? And seeing them do constructive things is motivational, inspirational. So if a black person in Jamaica is trying to get reparations from the UK government, that can motivate a black person in St. Lucia or Guadeloupe to I guess to the French, I think it might be to the Americans, to get to the actual Americans, this kind of behavior, right? Now, if you're a descendant from Jamaica and you live in that, well, then that means the country that of your birth, you can go back and the money will be used to enrich the people. But then I don't know, because obviously it might be given to the people of the lineage. So that's something that has to be discussed. Once again, you have to have a committee, which I'm sure there is, to discuss how these things work. But the most important thing I'm looking at is people getting on code, as in people doing things that's in their own best interest or our own best interest, right? And using that as a motivational thing. Not highlighting black pushback in Jamaica seems to be dismissive and or disrespectful. Don't know what that means. Are you talking about black people who don't want reparations? If you could show me a report on them, that'd be good. I think the majority of black people would definitely want reparations for the past of genocide, mass rape, enslavement, kidnapping, destroying of property, destroying of culture, and I guess war, I guess crimes against humanity, I guess as well.
Yeah, or Stanley, but or brother Stanley, you can just, if you're looking for the black pushback in Jamaica, because I'm in America just like you, Stanley, and I found it. So you can just pretty much Google it. Google the fact that Jamaicans didn't want the royal family to come, to their island without discussing reparations. Instead of a visit from the royal family, how about we discuss reparations or give us reparations? So I think you could just Google it, Stanley. I don't think it's up for Brother Rap Raven to have to go back and show you a certain video or something about it. But I actually, on my last show, I went over an article that I read. I forgot the publication it comes from, but I read an article about how they're standing up to the royal family. So
and feel free to, if your show is dedicated to black people, helping black people and black women, feel free to put it in the forum so people can follow your page and that kind of stuff. And at least I'll put it on the screen so people can follow it.
I got you. Thanks, brother.
Definitely. All right. So family, let me just do it one more time as well. While brother Born Rich is doing that, let me send out the invite. I'm just gonna. So anyone who wants to jump in to talk about today's topic of black people being let me read it correctly so I get it right. Whatever. Why should black people have dignified interaction with non-black people? You know, and we're talking about we brought up early on for those who are just joining, brother Neely Fuller talking about the three T's, which is trashy, tragic, and terroristic interactions. We definitely want to minimize those, eliminate those. One way to do that is to spend most of the time actually talking inwards. That's always good. And usually the brothers talks about these kind of interactions because of marriage and maybe media shows, this kind of stuff. Like when these things happen, then it's quite uncontrollable. That's another thing why we always push trying to ownership. That's one of the principles. Understanding ownership. That's nothing to like owning. Who is owning stuff? When you create something, who owns it? And trying to get it to be black owned. And a principle of maintaining that. So selling your black owned product to another black person. If we can get, if let me just click to the where we click to the screen. So we've listed certain things here: black love, black economics, black defense, black health, black ownership, black. There's the word black ownership, very nice word. Black centeredness, that means making sure it's come from an Afrocentric or black centric place. Black collectiveness, working as a collective, very important skill that people promote individualism, and I think you should be remarkable on your own. But the world is moved on teamwork, but sometimes we seem to undermine that concept when black people try to achieve something. Teamwork works. Where are we? Black enterprise, black politeness, and black constructiveness. So these are the things that I'll be pulling from this broadcast. I've tried to influence as many people as possible. Know that if you're a black person and you want to be constructive, all the skills I have I will use to aid you in your quest. You're always welcome here as long as you talk politely and correctly, and we have black people's interests at heart. And the idea is to train black people because unfortunately we are collectively inadequate at the moment to actually how to think that works in your own collective best interest. Did you know that in the UK home ownership is only 20%? We need to be okay. There you go. So there you go. So home ownership. There's a history of black people struggling to get places deliberately, and then also financially as well. So that's something that we can also cover on this kind of podcast as well. How to bear that. I run networks and groups though where we talk about home ownership and owning land and this kind of stuff. And I recommend if you're out there in the interweb and the internet and this kind of stuff, if you're joining any kind of network, any kind of like WhatsApp or what's that one, Discord or Facebook, where it might be, create dedicated black servers dedicated to particular things like black health, black economics, black land, black uh, ownership, whatever it might be, right? Black self-esteem, and then create these forums, give it a brand, give it a name, whatever, and let's add all your friends and family to it, and make sure you're only constructive, because a community, we have to form digital communities where we can actually reach out and touch each other, even though we're in different lands, different areas, and we can share knowledge quickly, share links quickly. If there's a certain thing we need, we can ask black people first if it's there. This kind of way of thinking will actually create a different outcome, and the challenges that many black people go through will minimize. But we have to actually articulate, and that's why I'm going to here to create symbolic and symbolisms and texts and ways of viewing things that make becoming better, right? So, for example, look at the screen now. Unfortunately, when it comes to white people's welfare network practice, this image to the left is how many Europeans have do their kind of networking. To the right is most how black people do it. So basically, the size of the circle is the wealth, and then the connect is how they connect to other people to share that wealth and circulate that wealth. Unfortunately, when black people do it, it's more like this. You see, it's not as webified. So we're going to try and do that. And how we can do that is by making sure we're actually around each other. And when we want certain things, we have a first go-to premise of doing it. Hence why Discord, WhatsApp. But ultimately, it'll be about black UI designers and black UX designers and developers creating our own apps that particularly unite black people in finding these particular crafts and economics and that kind of stuff. And that's what we're going to do. And if you're a person like that, please talk to me so I can put you in a network where we can network together and make those products. That'd be amazing. Voila, no matter where you're from, that's always good. What else we're dealing with? Okay, nope, don't do that. Then Oh, so this concept here. So another concept is once you practice the lifestyle of black betterment, and that's your lifestyle, you can actually form fellowships, right? And that means, you go with other people, you have your own set of rules, whatever, and you have a particular task in it. So you'll practice a lifestyle, you'll agree to that. You join a fellowship, and in that fellowship, you have 10, 20, 400, 5,000, whatever it is. Give it a fellowship, name the fellowship of black goodness, whatever you want to call it. And then you have particular things. You're trying to get constructive black stuff in media, you're trying to get constructive black business out there, you're trying to do whatever it might be. Have organized yourselves with the lifestyle of black people, helping black people, black issues. Because right now, not being able to articulate certain things makes it challenging. So when someone asks you what you're doing, you go, "Oh, I'm practicing the lifestyle of black people, helping black people, black issues." You see, it's a lifestyle. And once a person knows you practice that lifestyle, and they understand the full set of those lifestyles, then you can actually then form crews. Because unfortunately, what happens now is people come together and they don't really share the same ideology, which is there's certain ideologies that don't need to be mentioned, but how to help black people might be a very good. Is it important that black people help black people? These are things you want to kind of get down on a base one, you know. Uh, One thing for those who are new, this picture's in here. Basically, this is in Australia, and we covered this a few time ago. The left person identifies as a white Aborigine, and the right person identifies as a black Aborigine. They both say Aborigine, but this is what it is. And what we were showing is in the Australia, what happens is that the government recognized that because they've killed and they've poisoned and they've mistreated the black Aboriginals, they've set aside a fund to stop them from being alcoholics and to help them get educated, this kind of stuff. And what happened is a lot of the black Aboriginals are struggling to get this, while the European-looking white Aboriginal gets it. You see, and what we're saying is, once again, this concept is, I suspect, could be very similar when you were talking about reparations. And what's happening is black people are practicing miscegenation and going with Europeans. Then those Europeans are then going with other Europeans. And then those Europeans are going to other Europeans. And then those Europeans are going to then want claim of reparations for having ancestry that was enslaved. This is what you have to be very aware of. And that's what I'm saying. Who you pick as a partner and how you try to fix your community is very important. Remember, because whatever you do as a person, you can't necessarily tell kids not to do. So if you pick a European partner or a non-black partner, it's very challenging to tell your kids not to do that. Now, if second generation wealth is important, essentially what you're saying is this is how the wealth that I've made is going to get back into the European community. This actually was a technique known as racial whitening. We had it here somewhere. Yeah, racial whitening. So yeah, the racial whitening is the ideology used in solution to the Negro problem. So many people thought having many black people around was problematic. Still do. Racial whitening comprises of the perception of individuals as being white in relation to their position in class system. Supporters of the white ideology believe that the Negro race would advance culturally and genetically, and even disappear totally within several generations of mixed breeding between white people and black people. The ideology inserts the belief that white Aryan race was superior to other cultures and would inevitably written the inferior race's blood. Racial whitening is also a process used to control non-white indigenous people's economic ownership. So this was a concept where there's a film about, I think I keep forgetting the name, something about the rabbit, something I haven't seen. But basically it's this concept of they're trying to find out how can you actually cure the Negro problem, because if Negroes you get power or come around, it's going to be problematic. And one of them was trying to get maybe the lower end of society from the Europeans to breed with black people, and then what would happen is you have like you say that after 4 or 5 breeding processes, like then that person can be considered white, and they can have all the privileges of the white person as well as the privileges of the black person. You see, so this is the kind of thing, and I think you might see this like in America with the Native Indians and this kind of stuff, where you have white Indians and they have land and this kind of stuff. So this is a practice that they do. There is not such thing legally, technically, in any kind of dictionary as racial blackening. So what I've done is I've penned one, and this is what we've penned. So racial blackening or blackening is used as a solution to anti-blackness, black inferiority, black collective inadequacies, and black colorism. Racial blackening contributes to black economics, black generational wealth, and black culture ownership. Racial blackening is used to promote unity amongst all black people collectively. Racial blackening is one of the first steps of practicing constructive black love and constructive black family. So what we're saying is to counter the concept of racial whitening that was used to destroy black people, the Negro problem, we have the solution, which is known as racial blackening. But it comes from the standpoint of practicing black love and being constructive and understanding second generation wealth. And by marrying black people, this is part of the process of racial blackening. You see, so now we have a counter to that horrible thing that was there. Voila, there. So we have something there. Feel free, family, to jump in, guys. And Born Rich, any questions? Just fire them right. You're a guest. You say what you want when you want, as long as it's constructive and it isn't derogative. You're welcome to say it.
No. I appreciate you, man. I'm actually, it's still kind of early over here on my ends, man. But I appreciate you though, Raven, man. I'm subscribed. I'll be tuned in, brother. I'm about to head out, man. But good shit. Good shit, bro. I'll get the word out. I'll get the word out about this channel any way that I can, brother. Anything that I can do to help, I'll definitely help you with that, man.
Vice versa, brother. Good to see you, and hope to see you very soon as well. You have a good day, yeah?
Absolutely. Salute. Peace.
Peace, family. All right. So, family out there in the interweb, feel free. I shall put the link one more time for those who wish to join. It's good to hear other people's opinions. I know sometimes it can be daunting. We try to make this place as comfortable as possible, and as long as we're constructive and practice the 4D values, we'll be good. One thing here now, for those who have difficulty expressing words and stuff, we can break down love as in two types of love. We have traditional love and traditional and contemporary love. Traditional love is black betterment, as in black man and black woman come together, make family. And so, because when people say love, they get a bit confused. So, contemporary love is anything outside of that. So, we definitely promote and we see the value in traditional love because we understand that's the form foundation of black betterment. We understand that if we don't produce black people, then everything we work for will actually go into dust or into other communities, as it tends to do. So we practice traditional love, that is black love, black man and black woman, constructed black man, constructed black woman, and anything else can be considered contemporary love, and that's good, good. But we don't promote that here because it has nothing to do with black people. So make sure when you're here, we're talking about traditional love and not contemporary love, and that's very important. If you don't understand that, ask the questions now. Lord of mercy, let's go. All right, Black Love Campaign, we'll be doing that. One thing we don't do as well is benchmark rebrand. Many people, what we do is there's a certain goal we want to reach, and then what the Brown Sisters do is they lower the goal when they go there. Don't want to do that. One of the challenges we face in the community is we spend a lot of time benchmark rebranding. We want to make sure we have the goal, and we want to go for it. Yeah. All right. I guess one thing that's so important, we were saying as well, because I know it sounds like we're being a dead horse here, but the black love question is very important because if we don't put that in the primary first front, then things seem to spiral crazily out of control, unfortunately. So one of the things you can ask, and there's a brother in the forum who seems, I can ask him this question. And I guess when you have a person who's very confused about the values of black love, you can ask them, what are your views on black love? And that's constructive black man, constructive black woman, raising constructive family. What are your views on this? See what they say. I also asked them, what are your views on black people improving the realities of black people? What are your views on this? Okay, interesting. And then you can ask, black people being respectful and honorable to black people. What's your views on that? And then you can ask, what is your views on black economics? Black people networking within business, black people patronizing each other's business, black people teach each other business skills. So I keep saying the word black people and things to do because we have to drill into people's head because a lot of people think that things happen automatically. I can assure you no. Most of the people who think they help black people don't at all. And this is the challenge that if you don't actively try to help black people, the chances are you won't be. If anything, the chances are you'll be helping other people. Hence why having a lifestyle of helping black people is a solution. Just like having a lifestyle of helping animals is a solution. They call it veganism. Same principle, a lifestyle of helping black people, black men. Isn't that good? Fantastic. All right. Now, one thing we always going to highlight as well is when we communicate together, we want to always try to be as high principle as possible and move us further away from being error prone. Never good, never good, never good. So we want to be high principled and not error prone. Now, we're going to probably wrap up the show relatively early today. I kind of need to sleep if I'm being honest. We'll go over the black custodians and then we'll send the group out for people to join. But if no one jumps in, we usually if no one jumps in, we go for an hour and 10 minutes or so. If someone jumps in, we go to 2 hours. Sometimes it goes to 3 if it's if it's really something we want to hear. Unless there's questions in the forum. Sometimes I miss that because I'm too busy reading, so I need to not do that as much. So any questions, feel free to ask. Now's your time to ask me anything about Black Betterment, also about the refinement of Black custodians. Is it necessary? Do we as a community need to actually control the people who represent us? Is that a good idea? Or is that a bad idea? And if we do need to control them in the sense of have set perimeters and guidelines of what we wish them to represent and that kind of stuff, what are the topics they should do? What are the rules set? What lifestyle should they be living that can guarantee that they are more synchronized with the collective best interests of Black people? Because unfortunately, what we seem to know, it seems to be culturally acceptable that Black people get into spaces of power and have absolutely no interest of doing anything that collectively benefits Black people at all, except for symbolic gestures. And I say symbolic gestures, I do appreciate them, like having a dark skinned person or a Black woman or a person from Africa or where it might be in a place where they're not normally there. I think that's very good symbolically, and we like looking at aesthetically. So it's beautiful to see that aesthetically. But at the same time, we have to make sure that we don't want to make sure that isn't a strategy that people use where we put Black faces in high places and they're there just to get votes because it's different and quirky, but they're not necessarily there to represent the best interest of Black people. One thing we have to do, very important, very important, very important. Big up Empress Kushti. This is a big up the family, very good contributor there. Big up sister there. Let us see. Nice picture there. All right, so yeah, that's us, I guess. I mean, what was that? Did we played what we tokenism? You're right. That's what it is, tokenism. We played. So for those who are coming slightly late, we played 2 videos. One was about Neely Fuller explaining tragedy, trashy, tragic, and terroristic interactions between Black people and non-Black people. And we showed some images. Some of the images, if you don't, oh no, I removed it. I pressed the remove button. How bad is that? Shame on me. 1,000. Let me see if I can find it. Share video. Oh, it would be in a different folder. Voila, found it. We were showing these images here for those who are not cleaning their house while listening to the phone without looking at. But it's just images of the poor family being carried by Indigenous Black people, and obviously this is from the past. But today people are getting on code, which we say well done, and they're asking for reparations. They're asking for head of state to be removed, which is the Queen, and asking for apologies from the Queen. It's interesting that the royal family won't apologize, and I think because they're smart in the sense that once you apologize, that means you're accountable. This kind of stuff. But either way, I don't think that should be stuff we should necessarily focus on. I think the real focus is how do we use these claims for reparations as a collective betterment, and how I say is you use it to say that until we get reparations, we have to be unified. And if a person wants to join our economics or marry into, they go, well, they have to get their government to pay reparations, and then we can start the conversation. That way, the power is more. Because I think what happens is when you try to promote any kind of black on black, any solution or whatever it might be, you tend to get the kind of kumbayaism talk, and then that really triggers Black people. You'll notice that when I go to Speaker's Corner, and once again, the power is removed from Black people and placed into the non-Black person, and it's this concept of how are you going to make the non-Black person feel, or the unsynchronized Black person, and that kind of heartstrings is played. So we need language to actually get it back into Black people's court, and I think that might be anything you want to do. We'll do it after you give reparations. So if you want to marry me, cool. We'll talk about that first. Get reparations, and until we get that, then because I do say for let me go into a picture of. I don't want to go it quite a lot, but when you look at the Black now, to be fair, and it's not a word I like to use, but to be fair to the Black politicians, none of them ever said, as far as I'm aware, they're here to help Black people. So that's nothing. That's why with the Black custodians confessing in the group or out of the group, it's like I'm here to help Black people. I press Black betterment is important. And if these brothers haven't said that, then I know it's going to sound very cool, but they're just Black people here. And essentially, Black people are going to be helped indirectly in the actions that Black barriers do. Even though that's it's like because being a Black person, being a biological Black person doesn't tell you anything apart from your phenotype and your lineage. It doesn't actually describe your actions You see, your actions has to have a guideline, and it has to have commitment, and hence why we need a lifestyle and we need words to identify. When two people say they're black bearers, we know what they mean. Just like when two people say they're vegans, we know what they mean. And having very, very strict guidelines and not allowing people to like, because one of the pushbacks they might get is you can't be a black betterer if you choose to not marry a black woman, black man, what it might be, and that because that usually comes up the whole pro black thing. But that's something we have to stand firm. You have to have definitions, and I think black love is so important that we can't really sway and swindle on that one. But also, is that unchecked, all our politicians will always go outside the community, as you can see. So having that kind of definition very important, very important. Uh, but also it now, if we were to take this, let's create a scenario, let's create a actual storytelling scenario, right? And how that could be is like, you have all these gentlemen here, and what happens is let's just pretend that they practice black betterment and they want to help black people, but naturally because they're quite intelligent and they're moving up in the ranks in the UK system, whatever it might be, they're being approached by many non-black women. Like the black women are too busy working; they can't see them, and they literally throw themselves at them. So it's like I didn't try to marry a non-black person; it just happened. But what you could have is go, okay, well look, I'll marry you, but after you go to the community and get reparations. Now if that's too far fetched, you can even streamline it and say, I'll tell you what, why don't we do it this way? Why don't we say, what if I marry you, but but all my money and wealth goes to my black sister. I mean my actual birth sister, uh, you know, and that way it stays. Will you be okay with that? So you get my love, you get the smiles and the hugs and that kind of good stuff, but you don't get any wealth. Let's see if any of those women will still want to marry the black man. Probably not. I don't know. This is just exercise because we're trying to test: do people marry for love, or when people go to the divorce court, are they trying to get their love back? Probably not. Probably want to get money back. Who knows? So let's test that. And this is more so for educating black people because when you try to tell black people the importance of black love and this kind of stuff, Afro descendant, black person, all that kind of stuff, they always talk about love and Walt Disney and stuff, and I think that's where we're kind of falling behind. I think that's falling because we don't understand how the world works. Um, you know, and this is a logical, as I say, pudding. That must be a good word. Yep, yep. If that's a good word and it means black people and black people, then that's what it is. Good word. Thank you very much. Um, yeah. But like I said, brother, we are going to end the show soon. Feel free, the family, to jump in to have the 10 pence piece. And if brother, I know it might be slightly controversial, but if you wish to jump in, brother Stanley, you are welcome, as long as you uphold the 4D values, which are, let's see if we can find them. Let's say, welcome, Empress Kushti. What I find them for. How's it going, sister? Oh, mute. Let's give her time to find a mic.
Bless up, bro. Hey, sorry about that.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So we're just showing the 4D values. There was a brother saying that this is. There we go, brother. So we're inviting brother Stanley. Before I enter you, just turn your mic off unless you want people to see you. There you go. You're soft now, so that's cool. Fantastic. Welcome, brother Stanley. You might be. Is that feedback?
Yeah, hold on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, what you might want to do is you might want to turn down the YouTube, and that way it will.
Yeah, I already did. I didn't know I was going to call in. There are a lot of. Well, I'm sorry. I just hopped in. Yep, I'm here.
Welcome, brother. Okay, yeah. Well, what we say is we try to be constructive as we can in the show, and we try to use. Let me go to the thing. We always use the 4D value. Now, we don't want to be echo chamber of people talk to ourselves, but we do want to have a situation where we heavily push forward that we want solutions for black people. This is a black oriented show, and we practice the lifestyle of black betterment. And when we talk, we want to use discipline, dedication, discernment, and dignity. If there's certain things we say that might confuse or maybe there's strong disagreements, we're willing to have a constructive, strong, firm conversation. But as long as we're respectful for each other, and I say, let's keep the heart of black people progressing at the center of it, right? So we want to always make sure that what we're talking about benefits Black people if possible. I know it's hard, but let's try. Right. So we have Empress Kushti and Brother Stanley joining. Anything you guys would like to say? You always the mics are yours. One at a time. Don't fight.
Ladies first.
Thank you. Bless up, Brother Stanley. I think I came in really late, but I saw the last slide of the royals getting carried and things like that.
Yeah.
Kind of just is a great way to explain the question. That's definitely not being dignified. And I think it's that kind of white savior mentality that unfortunately a lot have in the diaspora. So I think that this new change along the Commonwealth of people standing up to them, I think it was interesting as well because they missed Belize, but they went straight to Jamaica, and Jamaica still had demonstrations. So it wasn't like they were willing to give up going to Jamaica. And I do find it interesting that they're still stuck on the apology thing, which they won't do.
No.
At this point, I think they're running out of things to say because he was practically repeating what his father had said prior to him.
All right.
You know, so yeah, it's very interesting. I think from that they declared that they're gonna remove the Queen as head of state. So following on the lines of Barbados, and this might end up being a rippling effect. We'll see how it goes. But the notion of Black people just saying, look, enough's enough and it's time, it's very powerful, I think.
Yeah, getting everyone on the same page, you know, and having that happen in different continents, different cities around the world, very, very powerful, very, very necessary, very on-code behavior, very dignified behavior, which is very good.
And I think it's good that you raise this because I think we're always bashing down, you know, the islands or the diaspora and stuff like that. So seeing them stand up and making a presence like that was very interesting. Even when I followed the narrative, I try to because I don't watch a lot of it, but like the media coverage of it, it was very interesting how it was just a constant focus on the royals and asking questions like, you know, is the Commonwealth dated? What's the point of them going to these countries and doing these things? So yeah, it's very interesting. I think I heard that the reason why they go to these places, one of the main reasons is to show off the beauties of the country. For example, they said that Belize had the second largest coral reef, and they would, I think they would like dive in underwater and things like that. So because everyone wants to see what the royals do, it shows off the beauties of these countries. So it's interesting because they're very aware that these countries rely heavily on tourism. So if you're what do they call it, the motherland or the Queen or the royals are coming over and they're making a point to do things like that and they're packaging it as, you know, the world is going to see this, the world is going to want to come and do, I saw Kate do this, let me ride this horse, or, you know, those kind of things. It's very interesting. But absolutely a show of united front from these Caribbeans but one by one. And you know what's another thing that was interesting? This last point. Apparently, when Harry came to Barbados, the last one, because it was always Harry doing it, and it's obviously now they just can't have Harry doing that, which is interesting, right? Because I wonder if he would have fell out with the royals, he would go with his wife, you know, because of the connection. And that's another question to ask, and how that would be favoured. But they were saying that with Harry, the last time he went to Barbados was to stop this. So they wanted to push for them to go as a republic. And because of Harry's visit last time, he came with Meghan, he held it back for like 18 months or whatever. So this whole trip was to show a united front and to try and show like some form of, you know, we're with you, the Queen's with you, but it didn't hold up this year. You know, Barbados already went to Republic, Jamaica announced that they're going to do it. So yeah, it's like you can bring your trinkets and everything else, but hopefully people start seeing that not all that glitters is gold, you know. So yeah, I think image wise it's good, and I think it's going to start quirking up the ears of the other islands in the Caribbean.
And that's what we're asking for. We're asking for you know, synchronization, things that work. People practice it, and they influence, and it works in the best interest of Black people collectively. That's the idea. Brother Stanley, any questions? Or you just main?
No, actually, you know, kind of to build on Kusti's point, we all know, you know, the background of, you know, well, let's just say it's exploitation for whatever reason. I'm actually more interested in, you know, you put a picture of, you know, Jamaicans carrying the royals. I'm more interested in, I think we should highlight the protest against it, because, you know, that's Black betterment. How did we push back? I'm actually more interested in the Black side of the story than what white people are doing to us. I want to know how we push back.
Yeah, good point. I think if we listen to the actual thing here.
GMA fans, Ariel Russia has more for us. Good morning to you, Ariel.
Good morning to you, TJ. There appeared to be some trouble brewing in Paradise with protests planned as the couple touched down in Jamaica, but their reception in Trenchtown seemed to tell a bit of.
There you go. So they mentioned it. I mean, it's the European news, whatever. I mean, the American news, whatever. But yeah, they mentioned that there is.
Well, I you know, the bottom line is I think that should be highlighted.
Oh no, that is the this broadcast is segregated to two sides. We have the one side of the old behavior, and we reference that by listening to Brother Neely Fuller about watching old imagery and some new imagery here of oh, that's not it. Where is it gone? Voila. Oh, did I get it? No, I didn't.
Well, I agree.
Black people and white people are not.
There you go. So
I agree with Neely Fuller. However, you know, contemporary pushback is really my point. You know, don't present what they're doing to us. Present how we respond. To me, that's much more interesting. And maybe people can, you know, think about, well, hell, we pushed back. Let's do that too.
Yes, no,
the pushback is more interesting to me. And
I agree. How we're identifying the pushback is collectively people getting together for the same purpose.
Right. And highlighting how we push back, highlighting people actively promoting Black betterment is more interesting to me.
And I think Empress Kushi kind of hit that when she was breaking down the request that was made and the reasons behind it.
Got it.
So that's how we kind of see it. But I think definitely what we're I guess the universal theme is, how do you think in a way that's in your own best interest? Because it sounds very particular, but unfortunately through observation, many Black people don't seem to have this as a default way to operate.
But some do.
Oh, yes, of course. And we try to push them. We will probably try to get those and make those what we've been talking about known as Black custodians, you see, to help train those who don't. So let's click on this, add to stream. So yeah, hence why we are actually promoting the Black custodian designation. So the ones you do, we're trying to identify them and give them a helping hand in refinement and promotion, and just make sure they synchronize with the values that we feel collectively work best for Black people. And the ones that we're currently listing, some might shocking, some might, but it's Black love, Black economics, Black defense, Black health, Black ownership.
Well, I know what you're saying, what I'm saying is maybe the emphasis should be on, 1/3 what has been done to us, because I think every Black person knows what has been done.
Mhm.
Highlight what we're doing about it.
Excellent. Yeah. So what? And that's a very good point. So it's like a domino effect in the sense of what we're doing about it has to be. You have to, in my opinion, gather the people who think alike. We have to make sure they're all on the same page. So you ask them, how are their views on these things? Like, are these things that you feel are necessary for Black people to thrive? If they agree, then you can move to the building stuff. But if they don't agree, then when you start trying to do certain things of a certain kind of nature, there'll be much pushback. You see?
Yeah, but rap, you know, most Black people agree that, we don't like the way things are. And, I don't mean to, I hope I don't sound critical, but, it's almost like we know what has been done.
Mm,
What I want to know, and partially you're right, you are presenting a plan for what we will do. What I want to see is people doing it.
mm. Good. So how that
I
happens
think
is they.
that's what sorry for interrupting, brother.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think that's what Brother Raven is insisting in the custodian, because there's not the right people talking up on these issues. Like, for example, when this happened, and there's a lot of descendants, we have the whole Windrush generation here, but it wasn't really highlighted over here, right? So the narrative could get taken over how they wanted to. So, for example, one interview I heard, which was just, this is the need I was thinking for a custodian, where a lady was talking. She must have been a royal correspondent, which is like a correspondent over here who only dealing with the royals, and they get extra privileges of being with or the state that they call it, the institution, feeds them the information or the narrative they want. And they had the cheek to talk about, well, the Barbadian Republic wasn't really done with a referendum. So it wasn't the people, it was the government who decided.
Mm.
Right. And when I saw the protest, they'd do a clip and you'd see one man, and it was probably like scarce, like not a lot of people around him. So it was like illusion that it was just like 5 people with a picket that had a grudge. But it has to be more than that, right? For this to have constantly been in, because Jamaica said that this has been something they've been trying to do for the last couple of years now. They used the excuse for COVID, but Jamaica's had a very bad, the government, I'd say, not the people, have had a bad reputation in regards to dealing with the royal and having a dignified response. For example, when the Queen's husband died, Jamaica was criticized. Like, it had all the blogs, so it was like the twist on, we call it the shade bar, which is the twist on the mainstream American one, social media handle. And it was everywhere that Jamaicans were disgusted with how the government statement, where it was talking about we Jamaican people are brokenhearted, and people were saying no one cares about this, man, stop talking for us like this, the government's outdated. So they've had pressure when it's come to the royals. So for the illusion by the media to make it like it's just a small minority that's disgruntled by the royals is ridiculous, or it would not be now that they're moving to a republic. That is the essence and the feelings of the people, on the backdrop of Black Lives Matter as well. And people are seeing this movement, this mentality, this shift through Black people who are just like, you know what, this is not working out no more, and we need to at least be able to have the room, the space to independently act with independence. Now, you could say if they're really independent, they're a republic and blah blah blah, but there's a shift there. There's an image that is getting shown there that Black people are saying, you know what, we don't want you the head of our country, and we should have had some sort of custodian ready, knowledgeable about this kind of politics, have our own kinds of royal correspondent with a Black take, talking about the debt, talking about how they're getting just what we all know, like you said, Stanley, the list can go on, but this needs to be reiterated to people that don't understand, So that's the whole problem, that there is a lack of custodians. There's a lack of people that are in place, which we would think is a sufficient person, is not a puppet or a token speaking up for the general people and their feelings.
Well, I'm sorry, Rap. Can I respond?
You can.
I don't know. Really, maybe it's just kind of and I will blame me. I think you could do 1/3 of a show on, this is the problem, and I think most of the show, and please take this with a grain of salt because I don't do shows, but I'm much more interested in how Black people respond. And the other thing is, I don't think that most Black people, at least in the US, which is where I live, I think most Black people pretty much know what has happened. I am much more interested in the diverse ways Black people respond because, you're assuming we're powerless and we are not. I just don't, and maybe it's a,
What way do you think that I'm assuming? Was that to me when you said that I'm assuming?
no, it's a general statement. I'm not going to.
Okay. Well, why do
I'm
you
just saying. I'm just saying that.
say that we're powerless? In what way?
No, I'm not. No, I said we're not powerless. I'm much more interested in the power of Black people responding to historical wrongs or slight. I think Black people are way more powerful, and I think that, frankly, and I'm going on a limb here, most Black people know what has happened, and I think most Black people are fighting back in their own way. And I understand, it needs to be more organized and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I want to see, to me, Black betterment, Black positivity is what Black people are doing in response, not what white people are doing, because that's old news.
I hear you. And I think that's why I highlighted the protest. I wasn't privy to the last few hours, but I feel like that is kind of the fundamental of Black betterment, Black people doing for Black people helping Black people. So, I definitely agree with that. But there's always more that we could do. So that's why I said that the protest was great, but having someone to be able to have a voice to speak from a Black betterment perspective would be the next step for me.
I agree. And let's Rap can be that voice. There are any number of voices that are in, that arena. I just don't think that Black people are that powerful. I'm sorry, powerless. We have a voice. We have the means. I'm more, and I'm repeating myself, of course. I want to know what we did to respond. I'm much more interested in that than what, Prince William and, that sort of stuff. Yeah, they went to Jamaica, but I think the protest and the way I read it, they kind of got their comeuppance. I'm much more interested in that than, Prince William flying to Jamaica.
Yeah, and I think that's something that we push here. That we highlight the challenge that was pushed forward, and we show the unity and synchronization and improvement of Black people protesting for a purpose and sticking to that purpose, and how that have affected different nations, and they've all correlated, in the same suit. So this is something that we do highlight. Definitely.
I'm sorry. One more thing, and I'll mute. It is much more inspiring to know how we respond constructively. I think that's much more inspiring then, oh, they did it to us. Yeah, they did it to us. And here is how, in real time, like in real life, that Jamaicans responded to what they thought was just insulting. I find that much more inspiring. I find that much more like, shit, we need to be more like the Jamaicans. I
Yeah.
find that
So
much more inspiring.
one thing I would say is, when we are covering the Jamaican aspect, that is what it is. As in, like, actually, uh, the whole premise of the conversation is that uh, Jamaica, as well as other Caribbeans, are getting on cope with others and having they're standing united as a united front of things they want, or we want, I should say. So that is the whole premise of the discussion. Pretty much, that's what it is. That's pretty much what this is all about, and that correlates
Okay,
with
well, I must have missed it.
yeah. Well, but what I'm saying is the whole purpose of this show really, if we is what is Black Betterment? Black people helping Black people on Black issues for betterment. So we try to minimize the talk of non-Black people unless there is something that you need to be aware of because it's a consistent practice or trick that might be used to undermine Black progress. You have to be aware of it. So part of Black Betterment process is education on things that undermine Black progress, and that sometimes or many times includes non-black activities as it pertains to infiltration and this kind of stuff.
Understood. But I think most Black people know that part of it.
I'm glad you said that because one of the findings when I conclude that black people are collectively inadequate, that actually is the knowing part is very challenging because what you from my experience of many years, if you ask a black person, do they help black people? They'll just say yes automatically. But what I find is if you do not actively know what you're doing to help black people, if you cannot quantify it, then the chances are you're not helping black people at all. If anything, you're helping non-black people, and that's how the system.
Yeah, I, I see your point, but there are even if you go to YouTube, there's Roland Martin. There's a lot of Black media. I mentioned
Roland Meyer, that man is off code. He is not Black
well,
Betterment.
no, I understand, but let me mention one more thing. There's an aggregator of Black news online. And I put it on Tasha's server. If you want to know what's going on in the Black world, and often it's a better lens from a Black perspective, what is happening. I mean, there are resources out there.
No,
And
that
rap
is a danger.
your resource itself.
He is a danger. If you go to Rowan, right, to find out what is going on from a Black perspective, that's dangerous.
Okay, I will accept that. However, he's not the only one, is my point.
Right, and that's why you'd require a custodian, right? If you can have 3 different Rowans and one person that everyone can agree would be a great person, right?
And
the media gets to choose out of all of them. They're going for Rowan.
Right. And my point is there are tons of them. Roland's not the only one.
But this is what I mean. If you have a Black custodian, then when the matter arises, that's the person they go to in order to speak to from a Black perspective.
Hold on, family. So what I'm going to do, just because we always like to do things in real time here, because learning is a good thing. We're going to play a clip from a news one, which was what Roland used to be on. And we'll just analyze behavioral patterns and see what works and what we need to work on. I don't know how long this is.
All right, folks. Dr. Umar Johnson recently was on 105.1 FM out of New York, The Breakfast Club with DJ Envy, Angela Yee, and Charlamagne the God. During the interview, Johnson talked about a whole range of issues. It led to him being the talk of Black Twitter last week, and a lot of people were questioning his educational credentials.
Now, people ask me, what can we expect from a Donald Trump White House for Black America? And the answer is real simple. You can expect exactly what you got from a Obama White House. Absolutely nothing. Black people know they're not American, but they will fight like hell to protect that identity because they don't want to be identified with who they really are, and that's being African. As long as you have a skill, you can always feed your family. But if all you got is college degrees, you might end up in the unemployment line. I'm a psychologist. Ain't too many black people running around looking for a psychologist to reveal all the skeletons in their closet.
All right, folks, joining us right now, Dr. Umar Johnson. Welcome back to the show. First and foremost, it was amazing looking at this whole reaction. I mean, I'm sitting here, again, people asking all kind of questions, things are blowing up. And so many people jumped on saying he's not a real doctor, okay?
So what is the purpose of this kind of questioning? I don't understand. When it comes to a black man who's trying to make a school, that's something we need to think about.
Where did you graduate from and you got your PhD?
My undergraduate education was from Millersville University. 3 degrees, political science, psychology, master's in school psychology. Subsequent to that, Pennsylvania certification as a school psychologist, which I've been for almost 20 years. After that, I got my educational leadership master's degree and principal certificate from Lehigh University in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And I earned my doctorate degree from the Philadelphia College of Osteopathic Medicine, American Psychological Association approved program, one of the top psychology training programs on the East Coast. 6 degrees in all. And anyone can lift up a telephone and call and verify those degrees.
So when you see folks who question your degrees, your response?
It's because my narrative is a whole lot different from the average mainstream black scholar. I don't parrot the narrative that the American social order wants black scholars to parrot. I tell the truth. I don't scratch unless I itch, and I don't dance unless I like the music. And because they're not used to having someone with a traditional education posit non-traditional views, people will automatically start to question his credentials. How did he get this far believing what he believes in? Well, you have to play the spook who sat by the door. When I got accepted into those 3 universities, they didn't know what I believed in. They didn't know what I stood for. But as time went on, it revealed itself. But I'm unapologetically African, so I'm not really concerned with what people think about me personally. I have a job to do, and that is to awaken the sleeping consciousness of African people, not just in America, but all across the world.
One of the things that you said during the interview, you said that Mandarin was one of the official languages in South Africa.
Yes, sir.
And others said you were dead wrong.
Yes, because I didn't clarify that I was speaking of it being an official language in the public school.
So it seems like the whole thing of here was just maybe undermine, and people do that. But we're just seeing why they do
School
it.
system of South Africa. So I should have clarified that Mandarin is an official language in the Republic of South Africa's school system. It's not an official language in the country, it's an official language in the school system. And I was speaking of schools, but I didn't clarify that, so that's my responsibility.
Also, during that particular interview, you talked about a variety of issues that also got people talking. One of them dealt with your views on interracial marriage.
So this is the topic that really most black people, it's usually religion, miscegenation, and homosexuality that get black people really riled up. But this is where the whole interview kind of goes pear-shaped and stuff.
Yes, sir.
And so, so explain that for folks who did not hear it.
Certainly. Simply put, any black man who is with a woman who's not an African herself is going to have a difficult time getting respect from me. I believe black men need to be with black women. The black family is under attack. Only 1 out of every 4 black women gets married. The black woman is last likely to get married. She's the last married, the first divorced. We have what? 2/3 of our children being raised by working class and impoverished single black female-led households. The destruction of a nation begins in the home of its families. And if we want to save black people, we have to save the black family.
So what the brother's doing is highlighting challenges that black people face, and his solution is constructive black man with constructive black woman makes a constructive black family. Puts in his own ways, but that's pretty much what he's saying.
And in order to do that, black men have to commit themselves to black women.
So he's asking for commitment.
So when you talk about not getting your respect, so
now this whole respect thing, this is now going to be the main thing. But this is what we do as a collective. We focus on the small point, and the big issue wasn't even there. He just mentioned years of suffering and a solution to that. And now it's the respect issue. And the respect could come from he respects a person who raises the challenge to fix these issues. But either way.
If that's the case, you're saying President Barack Obama didn't get your respect because his dad married a white woman?
That makes no sense. What you spoke about the offspring, he's talking about the father's choice. You've mentioned the offspring. That doesn't make sense
At all.
Would Harry Belafonte?
Not at all. I want to be very clear about something. As Pan-Africanists, the product of an interracial union is an African. I have heroes who are biracial. Some of the grandfathers of Pan-Africanism were of mixed racial ancestry. You don't blame a child for how they got here.
But I'm asking you this here. Harry Belafonte has a white wife. No respect for him?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter your social status.
No. I didn't say social. I'm talking about the one who put the work.
Right, but you put him out.
No. I'm asking.
So once again, he just said that Belafonte, a very good actor and singer, I believe. He did a lot of social work in the 50s and 60s, I believe, very good work. In the context of Black Betterment, if the brother did that, he could be seen as a Black Betterment builder, but never a Black bearer, because if he hasn't picked a Black woman to be his life partner to inherit his assets, then he won't be able to be considered Black bearer. Let's carry on listening.
So Harry Belafonte.
Yes, sir.
Sidney Poitier.
Oh, so if that's the same direction Sidney Poitier went, amazing actor as well. If he ended up marrying a non-Black woman and didn't give his masses of millions to her when he passes, then once again, it's good for his skills, good for his loving and stuff. But he wouldn't qualify to be known as a Black betterer, because that's a primal part. If you do end up lucky enough to get married, you pick a Black woman.
Julian Bond, Vernon.
Not too sure who that is, but once again, the same.
Jordan.
And you're naming all them to say what?
No, these are all African American men who have
done some good things.
No, who have married white women. But you said.
Now notice how this is so. Right now we've got Dr. on the show, and the brother here who's hosting it.
It's listing out names of brothers who have married white women.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And this is why I say that they always think it's. I don't think it's from our side, Right. It's always the other people that come to someone who's on Black Betterment or Pan-Africanism, and the first thing they come with is, "What about the white woman?" Like, it's them who are obsessed,
Yeah. Now, what one thing this is why we bring up, we have to recognize patterns, and when we recognize patterns, we can see where it comes from, and we can have quick solutions for it. But we have to be aware of it. So, and this is a consistent theme. Once again, this is part of the Black collective inadequacies, that when you have a chance to talk about, Brother Umar did mention a lot of big changes in the communities and ways to fix them, but the emphasis now is feelings about how you perceive a person who doesn't marry a Black woman.
Any Black man who marries a white woman will not get your respect.
Now, I don't know why they care about the respect from Brother Umar and they want to make it part of the show, but that's what they want to do.
Respond?
Yeah, go ahead.
And what I'm telling you is this. I don't care who you name. I don't care how much work you did for Black people. Your greatest commitment to Black people is being committed to a Black woman. It is still a contradiction. No matter how much you think you did for the struggle, if you really were concerned with Black people, you would have committed yourself to a Black woman. So it doesn't matter how successful they are. It doesn't matter how great you may claim them to be. At the end of the day, you didn't think enough about your own people to marry a woman who looks like you.
Frederick Douglass.
Yes, sir. An ancestor of mine.
So when you say ancestor, what does that mean?
Well, let me break it down.
Because, again, some have said you tried to claim that you are a descendant of Frederick Douglass.
Okay, so let's deal with that.
So hold on one second. Here's a statement from the family. Let me go ahead and read this, please. The family of Frederick Douglass has received numerous inquiries about Umar Johnson questioning his relationship to Frederick Douglass. There have also been questions about his legitimacy of his PhD and the handling of the donations he's received for his school.
We're going to try, but we're going to try to skip it to, I guess, where they carry on for a long time. They invite the guests, and the guests are here. There we go. Let's have a sneak peek, have a peek at this.
So you want a private school?
Exactly, independent school.
Lauren.
So the question of interracial marriage,
yes, ma'am.
So I don't know what's happened, but they just mentioned a school, and this sister's gone to the marriage. So let's just make sure I'm not missing that. Hold on.
Of a Black school that was shut down.
Yes, sir. St. Paul's College.
And you were raising money for it. First of all, how much money has been raised, and what's the status of that project?
Well, St. Paul's has been sold. Approximately 3 to 5 months ago, I was told by the I started
school.
You can start a school. Lauren.
And now,
so
first question goes right back to miscegenation. So this is the pattern we have to really watch.
The question of interracial marriage.
Yes,
I mean,
ma'am.
come on, man. You're too smart for this. We got 43.
I'm too smart for what?
We got 43 million Black people in this country.
And that
we got
means
over
what?
190 million.
I don't know who this woman is, but if someone could do the research to see if she's married to a non-Black person,
million white people, you're going to sit here and say that if
And you
a
got
black
half the
person,
black
a
women.
white person get married, a black person, a white person get married, one can't understand the other person's struggle. You've seen Tim Wise, right?
See, once again, this is where I was on the compromise mindset, where now they're going to throw forward the white gentleman who does racist, speeches, racism aware speeches. Once again, we always have to break down the dynamic. When it comes down to a white person talking about white supremacy and a black person about white supremacy, you're gonna find the white person will get more money, more acclaim, and more connections. This was Tim Wise versus sister Frances Cresswellskin. The same thing. More people always know Tim Wise and the sister, even though her degrees and her legacy and her connection to the problem is much more dearer. So once again, this is how white supremacy works, even in the so-called curing of white supremacy. Not to complain about, just something to be aware of. But the area of interest we have here is the dedication to black people on an allegedly black station talking about a black topic, and the main interest is feelings about people who marry Europeans.
You've seen Reverend Wallace. You've seen white people who understand racism.
Now, this sister here really wants the brother to understand their white helpers and this kind of stuff. Once again, I say to black people, this is a waste of time. I do ask, is this woman married or adopted by white people? These are the things you have to understand, because all these things do contribute to the mindset if you have a 20-minute show that's about black betterment or black empowerment, whatever it might be, and you spend it talking about why don't you like white people marrying black people, waste of time. Once again, that shows you that white people are superior to black people, at least in the mindset of these, because they then operate every single facet of their mind. Being aware of this, we can minimize it and make sure that we use time better and talk about black issues in the limited time we have in the media, and not about feelings, emotions about how black people feel about black men who marry white people.
Very well.
That doesn't mean they're going to do anything about it.
The other thing that is obviously true is they understand racism when you see things like the murder of Medgar Evers, like the murder of Martin Luther King. They understand racism.
And what did they do about it?
They understand us gaining just fine, and that's why murder happened.
Based on
So this is definitely off code.
what?
So the idea that somehow a white person can't understand our struggle, no way.
So now, once again, Brother Umar is on code. This is off code.
Unless what they understand.
Once again, Black Betterment, it's not in our best interest to care about what non-black people think about black issues, about black people coming together to find solutions.
Asking you, what have they done systematically
He already
to
told
improve
you that.
the opportunities
He
of
already
white
told
folks?
you
He
that.
did not tell me
yes,
that.
you did tell
He
tell
did
you
not
that.
tell me that.
You're going to tell me that guys like Tim Wise and Reverend Wallace don't understand
What about
race in
Tim
America?
Wise?
They don't understand race in America?
Articulates
They don't
racism,
so
but what has he done to
there are no white
systematically?
people.
Very good point. He articulates racism, but what did they actually do? This correlates with the segue in of what I was saying about when a European woman really wants to marry you, if you're a rich black man, tell her yes, we can discuss that. Can we once you get permission for reparation to be paid, we can talk about it? Or two, is it okay if all my assets and resources go to my sister, but you can get all my love? Let's see if they agree. Just the exercise, see what happens. Let me know if that happens, so come back, we can review that and see if that's something that we need to keep on.
That understand race in America?
There's not a white person
There's
in
no
America.
white people understand race in America.
There's not a white person. There's not a white person in America who has ever worked to systematically eliminate the white privilege that they benefit from vis-a-vis your oppression.
You're lying. You know 190 million people in America.
Eugene. We're not going to go there. We're not. I haven't
called me a liar, and you're cool.
Well, it's a fact that
watch
you're
how
lying.
You talk
it's
to
a
me,
fact that you're lying. It's a fact that you're lying.
I understand you.
To say that.
No, everybody, 1 second. Several things I don't allow. I don't allow the N-word. I don't allow coon. We can talk to one another and disagree, but I do not use racial epithets against black people.
That's fine, but he called me a liar.
No.
So the language needs to be watched on both
racial
sides.
epithets will not be used on this show.
And that's fine.
By anybody.
But how we talk to each other needs
you
to
can
be
say
up
whatever you want, but no racial epithets will be used.
So when we have black people on a show who want the same thing, we need to minimize argument, and that's why I keep saying name calling is something, regardless if it makes you feel good or feel bad, whatever. It can be used as to undermine progress, and it can be used to segue into something else. So definitely don't name call. And this is a perfect example of that. I hope that these demonstrations make sense of how to conduct yourself when you're there.
On this show about black people to black people. Eugene, your question.
So, from your paradigm, from your perspective, civil rights acts.
Also, is this brother connected to a white partner of some type, a white lover, a non-black lover? Just the research purposes.
Isn't an act of white folk stepping up on behalf of black folk.
Once again, consumed with wanted to show that there are non-black allies. Once again, a waste of time. Many black people think this way. I would say, if I'm being completely truthful, the majority think this way, and that is why black people are collectively inadequate. This technique makes sense today, but if we break down why it's inadequate and how it doesn't work and why people always focus on in solutions, not going to the people who benefit from your oppression to do stuff, then you will find that it will be more of a motivational stance and more people will be active. But let's keep listening.
Current criminal justice reform legislation moving isn't a current act of white folks stepping on behalf of black folk. Folk that funded the civil rights movement in the
one of the problems in the past, especially in the Americas, is black people very quick to give up power for this concept of integration or group love and this kind of stuff. So be very aware of that. Ownership is the best solution to many problems.
1960 isn't an act of white folks stepping up on behalf of black folk. I'm sorry, as an American, because I define myself as an American, an African American.
I'm sure you do.
I live in a country that moves forward together. And I say that as a Republican. We move forward together. Yes, we have individual struggle. Yes, we have struggles.
When the person says, yes, we have this, it's a way to minimize big issues in a small way. And, it's almost like, imagine if a man shoots you and then you look at the camera and go, yes, he shot me, but it's like, no, kind of need to focus on that, really. Just try to shoot you. And I think that's a technique I see a lot, the minimizing of big issues and the giving away of power and the undermining of black people who recognize that there is a necessity for collective betterment.
Yes, no. Yes, we have systematic
disproportionality. Finish in 15 seconds.
We have systematic struggles, and together as a country, moving forward to defeat those struggles.
Really? So, based on what you said, I want you to give me examples of white folk, not individuals, but systematically. Excuse me.
Why can't they be individuals?
One second.
I know you can't wait to defend them, but let me
1 second answer.
Can I finish?
Go.
Okay, I'm going. Okay? You cannot name anything systematically done ever in this country by white people to equal the playing field for black folks.
The Civil Rights Act, Congress literally sits behind us.
She's very excited, this individual.
The Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act.
Are you
both
aware?
of them?
Are you aware?
Hey,
both of them.
White people are proud.
That's another thing. When you see this kind of passion and erupting to defend non-black people in an argument or whatever, you be very, where does that come from? What is going on in the back of the mind? But brother there.
What of you,
Let me ask Scott Bolden.
Quick. I think the terminology and the narrative being used is a little misleading, not from you, but from this dialogue right here.
Okay.
It's one thing to sympathize with the struggle. It's another one to empathize with the struggle. Very different. When you talk about marriage being a political choice, and that one of the arguments that you made that I tend to agree with is that if you don't marry a black woman, then she can never support and comfort and value your day-to-day struggle as a black man. That being said,
that was an encore response.
I do think that the level of the rhetoric that you use in regard to your Pan-Africanism is difficult for many of us, quote, in the mainstream to get our arms around. But this issue about black men and white women in the civil rights struggle is not a new discussion. My mother was a civil rights activist in Chicago, and she was...
Okay, so what I noticed here is this man, he might have been raised around some form of activism, you see, actively trying to change something. So that's why you might find that his perspective might correlate more with black people progressing. I don't know about the other two. They like I said, they haven't defined that. But that's why talking, lifestyles, teaching, awareness is very important. Because if you're unaware, you'll go for the default, and the default is non-black. This is the facts. The default is, how can a black person be subservient to a white person? This is the Euro train that is really well done and refined. I suspect the two of the brothers, maybe even three sisters who were on the panel, they might have that in the back of their subconscious training.
But often complain privately that you can't sleep black, you can't sleep white and talk black, if you will. And that's always been in the American struggle, African American struggle with ourselves.
Yes, sir.
The other thing is that we struggle with our own psychology about self-love and otherwise. And if we get our arms around that, that does make sense.
Okay.
Once again, that's a very good point. The self-love, fix your self-love will make things a bit more clear. And that also expands into group love in the sense of knowing that you're on. Go ahead, brother.
I'm sorry. I pretty much put my thoughts in the, excuse me, the side chat.
People can't read that.
I'm sorry.
Anything you put in the side chats can't be viewed by the public.
Oh, no, I didn't mean them to be. I meant them, mostly for you and Sister Kushti.
Okay.
Umar gets one thing right about this, the systemic part, but I don't know. I just see it differently. The whole point of Black people being free is they should live the way they choose to be. If they want to follow a code, great. But, if they don't, it's their decision. And that's the part I don't understand. I'm not going to have a central authority to tell me how to be Black. It's just not the way. To me, shit, Frederick Douglass didn't fight to live under a quote code.
Right. So my answer to that is yeah. And when people who's trying to correlate with other people think alike, we will be well aware of that. And what we say is we create guides and rule sets to do actions. And if you qualify for those rules, then you can help.
See, that's. I'm sorry, I interrupted. My bad.
Right. So what I'm saying is, it's more so that someone is doing something and someone is doing something else or nothing. And if they wish to do something, then they have to correlate with the rule sets of those who are doing.
I see your point.
So it's like we have a clear agenda and a clear purpose after reviewing what has went wrong. So the only people who should really be speaking in that context are those who wish to join. If those who don't wish to join, it would be the equivalent of vegans trying to create some vegan restaurant, and a butcher turns up and starts talking about, oh man, we need to have beef for this. You know what I mean? It will make sense because once again, they're creating a lane for themselves.
Okay, I disagree with the analogy. For those Black people who don't want to be on code, are they still considered Black?
So what I say is there's nothing that can be done to de-Blackify a person's lineage or phenotype. You can't de-Blackify. But essentially, right, let me just finish this point. What I was saying is if the thing is a Black person tells you nothing, right? Because it just tells you your lineage and it tells you your phenotype, which is, how you'll be judged in the world. However, it doesn't tell you your mindset and what you're going to move towards. In order to find solutions for those Black people, the Afro descendants, whatever it might be, you have to have a lifestyle. Now, there is very few to little to no lifestyle that guarantees the betterment of Black people. Through reviewing, Black people are the street collective group on the planet. And one reason why, there's many reasons, why it's consistent is happening is because there is no actual definition that's been widespread of how to work amongst Black people to find solution that is Black centered in every single approach.
But I must go back to my question. I decide, shit, I'm a Black man.
Can I say that on this platform that it might be a bit different. We try.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I know it's hard sometimes, but just in this particular platform, we can't. Just only because of the way.
Understood.
Go ahead.
I don't. I define myself as Black, and I don't like other people telling me how I'm Black. Yeah. I have a mother and a father for that. And I was raised Black in a Black neighborhood, etc. Other Black people and no more than white people. They don't get to define my blackness. I decide my blackness.
Excellent. So the response to that is,
I don't need a code. I just know.
yeah, you don't. But what I'm saying is this: your blackness isn't under question anywhere. What is there is a defined lifestyle that has been set up to benefit black people under certain rules for a certain outcome, and those who qualify for it push forward to uphold it will be known as black bearers. That way, we are no longer talking about black people; we're talking about black bearers. But in order for you to be a
A
black, you must,
constructive black person.
yeah, a constructive black person. So in order for you to be a black bearer, you have to uphold these codes and be constructive.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that
I get it.
black people don't count. It just means that there's a particular action, and I'm glad you said that because this is the confusion that goes through the many communities of I'm black, you can't unblack me and this kind of stuff. That's all good, but I'm black, I'm proud, I'm black, I'm black, I'm black, and that kind of stuff doesn't really get anywhere. What gets somewhere is action. Action.
But see, the thing is you're defining black.
No. What
I'm black
defining,
whether I take action or not.
well, let me give you answer to your question. Let's see if it makes any sense. What I'm defining is a lifestyle known as black betterment, and the black people who practice that are known as black bearers. Where you could be black as you want to be and not be a black bearer. You see, so the code we're talking about is only
Okay.
for black bearers. It's just like if I tell a person how to chop a can in two as a karate expert, that's just for karate practitioners. That's not for boxers.
Okay. So basically, to be defined as black in your eyes, or whatever the group uh, decision is, to be black in your group. Okay, but you can be black and think that I will go my own way and be black. Is
Yes,
that
yeah.
something that can happen?
Not only is that something that we think can happen, it's something that we want to happen.
Okay.
Yeah, like one of the challenges is working with unsynchronized black people will slow down progress from a black bear perspective. So whenever someone
So
shows,
self synchronization is a thing. Is that possible?
you have to define it for whatever you're talking about. But right now we're gonna have a collection of goals and rule sets, and we're
Okay.
gonna work towards that. And
Okay.
those people will be known as black bearers, and it'll be very clear what we're doing.
Okay.
But whether you do it or not doesn't determine if you're black or not. But you have to be black to do it because black bearment is for black people helping black people black issues whenever it's constructively possible. So you could be black until the day until the end of time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be a black bearer because you have to uphold the rules. And that's the thing.
Okay. So I get it. I get it, and I
Yeah.
appreciate your definition.
Yeah,
So
there you
to be black in your group.
No, that's not true. That's not correct English. Not to be black, to be a black bearer. Anyone
Okay, but to be a black bearer, there are rules to follow, correct?
Of course, definitely. Just like to be a
Okay.
vegan, there are rules. Just like to
Understood.
yeah.
I get it now.
Yeah, that's what it is. And the reason why we do this is because we identify that black people are collectively inadequate. And in order to fix this, we have to have guidelines and rules because if we just allow black people to go with their feelings, the feelings will be dictated by the dominant media group. So when we watch this this thing here, realize that the people who were jumping in, they were not necessarily talking from the best interest of black people. The media, like this one will show you.
Idea that somehow a white person can't understand our struggle? No way.
So once again, that woman clearly has been trained for outside the media. Nothing she's saying
But
that is in people's best interest.
I have to ask you the question though. When you speak for black people in general and how black people should be to be black stars, whatever the gradation is, do you speak for all black people?
So what it is every person who we've got a list of registered historical black people, Negroes, African descendants, Ethiopians, all the words there, Blackamoors. For all those people historically who have been legally charged, oppressed, or labeled black, whatever, we have a lifestyle for any nation to practice in their nation a way of finding solutions, and that's what it is. And That's so know where they're from. You can do this.
Okay. I think that's fair. To be black in your eyes or your group's eyes, is to earn a black star, you have to follow the rules.
I wouldn't say to be black. Once again, black. We are not defining black. Black has been historically defined. We're saying those who have been defined
Well,
for all the
okay.
challenges you go through. There is a rule set that is known as Black Betterment, and
To
this rule
be
set,
viewed as black in your eyes or your group's eyes or to earn a star.
no. Once again, I'll say it for the fifth time.
It's to
But
be viewed. It's either to be viewed as a black person or a constructive black person.
Yeah. So
Okay.
be viewed as a
So basically, you don't speak for all black people because there are going to be some black people who don't particularly like those rules. Is that okay?
Unsynchronized. This is not for the unsynchronized. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely not. No.
You got it.
Like it's like this. I'm gonna walk up to a black person and I'm gonna say, "What's your views on black love?" If they say, "Oh, it's not important," like being with a black person is not important at all. It has nothing to do with how you produce black people. It has nothing to do with economics. It has nothing to do with anything constructive. Then I know that they're unsynchronized and they're a black person, and we love them as a black person, but we won't be able to build with them directly because they're unsynchronized with any form of constructive betterment that we see.
I understand.
Yeah. So yeah. So basically, that's how it is. So it's basically trying to find and locate constructive black people, high principled, to do dedicated work. This is to correct the collectively inadequacies that black people have gone through other groups, media training and other groups philosophies that make black people subservient, and also observing other non-black people and how they do basic things like non-black people understand the basics of love, the basics of economics.
Well, wait, you mean black people that are approved to be black people in your sort of code?
No.
Not all black people, just synchronized black people.
No, so what I'm saying is basically we have to go by percentage game. You tend to find that the challenges. So first of all, there's always going to be black people who are doing things that work in black people's best interest. But when you look at the data, so for example, if we look at the dating data and we realize that black men across the board are dating out of their community at a higher rate than others, then we understand that the issue is there's something going on in the black community, right? And we understand that if other communities understand the value of why their most prominent men marry their most prominent women, and they share well, then this is something that we have to study.
Understood. However,
right,
your way of doing things, the way you rate black people, it really it does not. How should I put this? The way you want black people to be may not speak for the larger black community.
It doesn't. It doesn't at all.
Okay. Oh, okay. I got it.
And the reality is, communities are formed by a smaller group, dedicated group. So most people in the world generally just do what they do, and they synchronize with whatever's been presented to them. So the idea is who is controlling that narrative, and is what is being put out there in the best interest of the individual. Therefore, meaning you need to have a small elite group who go and create media assets and media consistencies that train a certain narrative. And that narrative is how to be constructive, how to love. So, for example, let's just use it as a template. If the mass, say, music media promotes swearing and drug taking in the black community, indirectly or directly, right? Let's just use a silly example, right? Then a black bearer, a black custodian will go and form music institution, media outlets that have content that talks about loving black women, not taking drugs, being healthy, practicing a vegan lifestyle, inventing new things that help black people, blah, blah, blah. That will then be the zeitgeist. That will then be the norm. But that needs to be a conscious effort. Just like putting anti-black lyrics in the airways was a conscious effort. You have to have because without consciousness, if you're not consciously doing something, the other will always dominate. And we've realized that anti-black racism dominates and self-hatred dominates at the moment, and that's why you need to have awareness and codes of conduct and things that we benchmarks that we're trying to.
Understood. So my takeaway.
I actually disagree. I think it is something that most black people would want.
And I simply disagree. There's no data to support that. And I was just about to say that
the reason why, if I can finish my reasoning as to why
most
I say
black people wear.
Brother Stanley, let Biscoshi land on the point you're trying to make, please.
When Brother Raven he always starts to state that black people are inadequate, and I think most people realise that. Most black people realise that across the board, black people are the lowest of all leaderboards. Black people have noticed that there is a lack of black family getting promoted. Black people recognise that there is a problem with single mother issues within our community. Black people recognise that there is a narrative of negativity surrounding black people. Black people notice that there's not enough black businesses and understand the issues in regards to actually creating a black businesses, i.e. loans and startups and things like that. Black people are actually aware of a lot of their issues. That's why they're quick to complain about them. So having something set out to stop those things are basic things that most black people would agree that we need. We need more black businesses. We need to promote different industries and see black people in better industries. We need a strong black union. We'd like to see more successful black men with black women and vice versa. So these things are things that collectively black people recognize that we need.
May I respond?
Yeah.
I think most black people, like I said earlier, most black people know this sort of stuff. It doesn't really, that's not new info to.
That's what I just said when you said that you don't think that black people think that we need this. We do. We acknowledge it. We recognize it.
Okay, but I'll go back to an earlier question. The way you want to do it, does it resonate? You use the term most black people. My question is most black people where? And my second question
and I've just answered that when I said it. You go.
I'm sorry. Maybe you should repeat it because I didn't get it. I don't think these rules, most black people. I mean, the basics we know.
What rules are that again, Brother Stanley? Just so we understand.
Okay.
What rules
Sorry,
are these?
I'll go slower.
No, you said rules. Or is there particular rules that you disagree with?
Well, I mean, the rules, the way you want to do black betterment.
Well, can you give us one example, please?
It's up on the chart. I'm watching the chart.
No, but remember you said there's rules. So is there any one in particular?
No, the rules you propose, inadequate versus context. I don't think that your way of doing things will speak.
Hold on, Brother Stanley. I've just noticed a pattern. You haven't declared what you're speaking against. So
I'm not speaking against anything, actually.
Well, you say.
Well, you just said that you go against his rules. He's asking you which rules in particular.
No, I didn't use the word against. I'm saying that I don't think the way you're setting this up speaks for most black people. One of my questions was, which black people are you talking about? Are you talking about may I finish? Are you talking about
a bit argumentative because you did bring up
No, I'm asking a question. May I finish it?
Go ahead.
You can, Brother Stanley, but we're seeing a pattern here. But go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying most black people was a term that was used. Which black people, most black people, can you define those terms? And mostly where? Which black people?
So I'll make it very clear. Every person who qualifies to be black historically is able, if they choose to, practice the lifestyle of black betterment. The lifestyle of black betterment is black people helping black people on black issues. That's that simple. That's
Yeah, but do you mean the whole diaspora?
yes. So what it comes down to is everyone in the world can practice veganism. Every black person
Right.
in the world can practice black betterment if they so
Right.
choose. All you have to be to practice veganism is a human. All you have to be to
Understood.
practice black betterment is a black person.
Now, my question is, do you speak for all black people?
I only speak for black bearers.
I'm sorry?
I only speak for black bearers.
Okay.
Black people doesn't tell me how a person thinks. They might think like you. If they think like you, then everything I say will only confuse them.
Well, actually, I'm not confused. I am asking questions. I pretty much have formed my opinion. I'm hardly confused. I just don't think that, the black bearers or whatever the term is speaks for every black person. I basically don't think that. I think that the black diaspora worldwide is huge, and I don't think you're speaking for a majority.
No, of course not. So I think I'm speaking for a minority, but once again, these are ideas that if it correlates with a person's inner being, they will want to practice it. And I've tried to demonstrate that most things have changed for a smaller group, i.e., a smaller, refined group, implementing policies, ideas, ways, folklores, all this kind of stuff that people gravitate towards. So an example is you might get a musician. We use musician as an example because it's very easy to track. They make a new dance, and before you know it, that dances across the entire world. Everyone does a dance, and they're all synchronizing the dance. Well, that can be if you look at the 70s in America, they had the Afro style to show black empowerment, and then all across the diaspora, people had afros. Now, that wasn't a historical style necessarily; it was a stylized style that represented the 70s, but it was done in a way that black people could do something easier, and they could actually own their own look, feel, and economics based upon that styling, and that's what it was. So this is how it is. Smaller groups will cause that bigger change, but those small people have to be synchronized. So that's why I say clearly you're not synchronized with what we're saying, but at this particular point, you haven't really articulated the things that you disagree with. If anything,
I don't think black people have to be synchronized. I think black people, depending on the country they live in, based on, their culture, because black culture is not one thing. There are many black cultures.
Yeah, so I'm not necessarily talking about cultures in that aspect. I'm talking about a form of betterment, and how that works is veganism can be adapted in America, it can be adapted in Australia, it can be adapted in England, and when they practice it, they will network in their areas practicing veganism in the area. Black betterment is the same. So if you're in Canada and you practice black betterment, you're pretty much going to be around other black Canadians or Canadian citizens, and you will practice economics, group love, and in your area. And then hopefully when you get to a higher place where you become international, you'll network with other black bearers in different countries, maybe Canada, England, and that's
so the different forms of black betterment. Black betterment in and of itself is not one thing.
Well, black betterment is black people helping black people and black issues. So it's a lifestyle, and people who practice black betterment,
and it can be different from country to country, culture to culture. Correct.
Well, as long as black people are bettering themselves and they identify as black bearers and they identify as the culture, the rule set, the lifestyle that I'm a black bearer, then they are. But yeah, how that betterment takes place will vary of where they are and what they want to do. But as long as they're progressing, they're constructed and high principled, it will be considered black betterment, and it'll be something that we push and promote.
Okay, well, you actually clarified it. So black betterment in America isn't necessarily black betterment in England, correct?
Well, would you say that veganism in America would be the same?
We're talking black betterment, not veganism.
No, because this is why I have to use lifestyles. Because
white people are vegans too. I'm talking black betterment specifically.
Right, but once again, I'm using it as a side analogy to show off a lifestyle that if it is practiced, if veganism is practiced in America, it can be practiced the same way in Canada. But you might adapt it because maybe in Canada there's more pigs than there is cows, and maybe they're trying to not eat cows, whatever, right? I don't know. What I'm saying is it's a lifestyle, right? And that's the most the hardest thing.
And lifestyle can vary
for black people,
country to country.
maybe. But I try to make some ideas, and I appreciate the questions you're asking, and I appreciate you circling the questions so we have to repeat ourselves, because this will be part of the learning process when people are listening. But you have to understand that everything you say has an answer, and I'm giving you the answer.
Okay.
Now, whether you accept or reject the answer is your prerogative. But what I'm saying, there is an answer, and there is an A, B, C, D of what to do and what not to do.
I understand your point. My question is the answer universal?
Well, in some regards, yes. As in your starting premise, and when we look at the screen, everybody, let's go from the thing is black people helping black people on black issues for betterment. So you have to interpret that's a very broad concept that can be streamlined into particular things. But how we can be very aware of that concept is if you interject non-black people in that, then it doesn't count. If you're actually doing something to harm black people, doesn't count. See? So it's very broad, but it's also very streamlined by wording. That's why it's written a certain way, and it's been shown 80 times on the screen for 80 shows. We start every show with the definition, so we minimize confusion amongst those who are unaware.
Well, one last question, just to make sure I understand. Black betterment, how Black Canadians or Black U.S. or how we better Black betterment and how we achieve Black betterment can vary from country to country. That's my question.
It most certainly can, but there are certain rules that will take you out the fold of Black betterment. But generally, yep, you can. There can be people have different strategies, and the people have to adapt in the field they are. But as long as that core principle is there, Black people helping Black people on Black issues for betterment, then it could be considered Black betterment activity. And we break down Black betterment activities to two things: Black betterment, Black betterers, and Black betterment builders. So whatever.
I think you answered my question actually. Black betterment. You mentioned the core, but that's maybe a different argument. But how we better Black people can vary where that segment of the Black diaspora is.
Yeah,
Black betterment in the U.S. may not be the same thing as Black betterment in the U.K. and beyond.
That's a given. But one thing we would say is there's a universal rule set where, in order for it to be considered a Black betterment task, there's certain rule sets that has to be upheld. There's certain things that have to be, pushed forward. And for someone to be considered Black betterer, they have to live a certain kind of lifestyle that has been penned down. Certain things they agree to, they try to uphold whenever they can.
I think the goal of Black betterment is basically the core. How we do it can vary, but the goal should be Black betterment. I agree with that.
Yeah, but sometimes we have to define, because when we don't define things, it becomes very wishy-washy, and then we end up with certain situations like this. Let's see if we can find it. Let's see, go there.
I don't know. You say wishy-washy. My word for it is flexible.
Well, so this is where things become a bit wishy-washy here, where this is the Aboriginal context as a sign analogy, where this woman is Aboriginal and this was Aboriginal. However, this woman gets more of the benefits set aside for the Aborigines. So that's a pattern we have to watch. Also, something we have to watch as well is in England, all these guys are actually all our politicians, and they all are married to white women, apart from one who's married to a white man. So we're seeing that there's a consistent pattern there. And then when we look in the States across the pond, we realize that these are the potential women who are going to become Supreme Court and, Black woman power, which we all agree to. That's good. But however, the principal thing there seems to be they all have white husbands. So this is pattern perception. Now, what I'm saying is, once or twice you can say, okay, but when you see like generations of this behavior, it's a pattern. So what we do is we have a code to minimize that pattern. And we always go, okay, when we meet people who are going to speak for Black people or go and get funding from Black people, there's certain questions we ask them. And one of them is, what are your views on black love? And they go, what does that even mean? I go, well, constructive black man with constructive black woman raising constructive black families, black people improving the realities of black people being respectful and honorable to black people. We break it down to those, what is your views on that? And then that person will have to go, poppycock. I don't believe that at all. There's nothing valuable about that. You see? So that's why clear definitions matter. And I think the wishy-washy behavior that we've had in the past doesn't work because we leave it up for interpretation. And black people are very creative. We use the right side of our brain quite a lot. And that means metaphors and benchmark rewriting comes in. The next thing you know, we have situations where every single politician is married to a European.
Okay, well, let me ask you one question. Can black people marry who they want? Is that a rule?
Black bearers can't, but black people can, yes. Black people can marry who they want. They can marry any species, any race, any concept, anything they want. However, black bearers, if they're a black man, they'll marry a constructive black woman.
I see.
That's like a given. That's like your test of honor. And it's very difficult to find a good wife, but if you find one that is the goal, just like it's very difficult to find a good husband, but if you find one, that's the goal. And we try to set up scenarios and situations where constructive black man finds constructive black woman. And one way we can do it is by having core values. So black bearers have core values. We believe in black love, we believe in black bearment. And when we're around people, we will strive to see eye to eye and correct each other to find out what works best in black people's collective best interest. You see? But fundamentally, just to make it out there, if you type in the word pro-black in Google, a lot of questions that come up is, can you be pro-black and married to a non-black person? These are questions.
Okay, well, I think I see where you're going with this. So to be, and I don't know, maybe I'm covering ground, but I actually think you answered it. I think you answered it.
I think I've answered all your question, and the reason why I'm we thank Brother Stanley for asking questions that most people wouldn't ask. And the reason we thank him is because the way I set up Black Betterment is to always have answers and to be very straightforward and very simple and very, very use metaphors and concepts and symbolisms very importantly, so it's clearly defined. So someone is, yes, you can, no, you can't, yes, it will, no, it won't. Here's the goal, there it is. We try to minimize the abstract benchmark rewriting concepts where anything goes and we believe it will happen, that kind of stuff. Well, clear rules. One of the black people are collectively inadequate, and one thing we need to do is have rules. And if we have rules, stick by the rules. We have something to stick by, and we have something to mark ourselves up by, and we have standards that we have to uphold. And we can see, we've actually fallen short. And one thing is like, is he married? No. Okay, fair enough. Is he married? Yes. Okay, who's he married to? A non-black person. Okay, so ask him what is his views on black love, and if he's wishy-washy with the answer, then he might not be able to be a black custodian, because one of the things we're trying to push with black custodians is how to fix the massive anti-black self-hating culture that we find in black communities.
One question: in your view, in the way you view it, in the way you see.
Yeah.
Or the movement. So there are other views of blackness.
Well,
and are they as valid?
This is not blackness. This is not blackness. This is black bearers. This is black betterment. Very different. See, words matter. The word vegan means something. Yeah, it's actually defined. And I can't go to a vegan and go, is it okay if I massage cows but kill them? No, they'll say you're still not vegan. But what if it's the best massage of all time? No, a vegan will not kill a cow. A vegan will not kill a cow. It doesn't matter how nice you treat the cow. Once you kill the cow, you are no longer a vegan. That is an anti-vegan act, and we have those defined for black betterment. If you are a black betterer, you will, if you get married, if you find someone, you will try to marry a black woman, or vice versa. There's always circumstances where things don't happen. I understand this, but either way, in that act, you will not be viewed as a black betterer. You might be viewed as pro-black, because I don't know who owns the pro-black monarchy now. I don't know, because I don't know. But when it comes to black betterment, you cannot be a black bearer. You can't be a black betterment builder, because you're building in one area for black people, and that's a well done and a high five for you guys. But generally, the all-encompassing concept of black bearers is a black person who is trying to help black people in all areas of people activity whenever it's constructively possible.
Okay. I really I appreciate you taking the time. I know I've been difficult, but I have a clearer view of your your uh, your your black betterment, your concept of it.
Yeah. Now, one thing I tried to do before, because we're going to end the show there, because we've gone past for a few minutes. One thing I was going to say, and this is to anybody, and we thank Brother Stanley for coming to ask questions, because I'm sure there's many black people out there who have similar questions, but they might feel slightly intimidated to come on, and we never want that. We want to create a platform where people can ask questions constructively, and we give you answers that have been clearly thought through that work in the collective best interest of black people. But what one thing is like, if these things, if these are if black love, black economics, black defense, black health, black ownership, black centeredness, black collectiveness, black expertise, black politeness, black constructiveness, if these things do not work in black people's collective best interest, then we should cast them away. So, for example, if a black person marries a non-black person and they say this is the solution, like marry a non-black person will fix our issues, then we should do that. Yeah. But the only challenge is when you use logic, actually, we've tried that before, and what happens then is we have low self-esteem amongst black people who are not being picked to be married. We are creating a process of unblackening, meaning that we're creating a process of not making black people. So we're going into a very tricky slope of like just admitting the basics that work, and if you don't practice it, keep quiet. That's how things usually work. It's like taking cocaine should not be healthy, right? But some people take cocaine. But in the black community, it's almost like, if I was to use a sign analogy, it's like we want to, because we take cocaine, we want everyone to take cocaine. So we go, cocaine is fine. No, cocaine is not fine. But if you take it, keep that to yourself. Promote eating greens. Promote eating beans. Promote that. Do not promote cocaine. If we are practicing black betterment, promote black love, even if you are practicing the opposite. It's like, what are you promoting that works in the collective best interest of black people, not the individual lust or loathing or likes of the particular, the one particular. What works in the collective best interest of black people? Black women. That's what we're talking about. All right. Thank you, family. We've gone 40 minutes past. Sorry, because this what happens.
That's a great analogy, though, bro. I like that because that's something that we need to like stop happening, where it's like certain black people just feel the need to impose that they don't agree with it or what's wrong with it, even though they have no intentions of being anything to do with black betterment.
Mm. Mm. And
So
this is
a good point.
this
I don't know
is
why, and I feel like there's some sort of psychological aspect to that,
yes,
because like you said, there's no reason to be so focused on something which you're not interested, it's got nothing to do with you. And it's always the only time you see black people do that is when someone's trying to say, look, this is what I want to do for black people. And I think it's like a shining a light in some sort of inadequate, something that's not right within themselves.
Can I ask you a question though? When you say black people, do you mean all black people?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I talk about black people, I'm talking about all black people. I'm not talking about a specific type. So what I'm saying is, for example, black betterment, there's been several times that Raven will just be explaining the concept of black betterment, and there'll be individuals who will come in with passion. Like he showed us a live stream, for example. It was only like Raven was one person, and there was like two other men there, possibly three, I think, at one point, and they just couldn't. They were getting very agitated, very passionate with the thought of black betterment. These people would not be someone who'd be considered as a black betterer, but yet they were imposing their thoughts, all listing all the reasons why it can't work, why it's wrong, how it might hurt outside of the community's feelings. And it's just like you kind of think, why not just carry on walking, or why not keep on scrolling? Why stop here when you're not going to be nothing to do with Black Betterment and impose negativity? Why?
Well,
If
you
you
know,
think,
that's an
let
odd
me,
thing to say.
let me ask this other point as well. If you think it's inadequate, if you think that enough Black people are not gonna appreciate or relate to it or adapt it, then what's the threat? If you think it's nothing, keep moving. But the passion and the investment to constantly verbalize loudly and publicly why this is wrong and I'm Black and so I get to shut it down.
Well, let me
psychology behind that.
Well, let me ask you a question. That's an interesting statement. Am I imposing or asking questions? Is asking questions because you're curious actually imposing?
I think when you ask questions, I think that should be welcomed and open. And I think in regards to Black Betterment or pro-Black or Pan-Africanism, there hasn't been enough of that where outside people, all of Black people, no matter how they think, can ask a question. There's a lot of ego and bravado normally attached to it that shuts anything down. That's a different voice. So I agree on that aspect that you should ask a question. But I'm talking about people who are saying, well, you're going to hurt the white people's feeling. It's negativity. It's negativity.
No, I could give a darn less about hurting white people's feelings.
Exactly. But I'm not when I say this, Brother Stanley, I'm not necessarily just chucking this
I mean, as a matter of fact, that's the least. I wasn't thinking of white people.
Right, but I wasn't talking about you personally. I gave an example of Brother Raven who done he was at a discussion with two other men, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So technically, if you're in a conversation with two other men, they've already got the upper hand, right? They've got both of them. They don't have to get that passionate. They don't have to shout the man down. They don't have to interrupt him. And what he's saying is the least offensive thing ever. It's about positivity and moving something forward. But these are the things that has been said to him. They've questioned him about the feelings of people outside of the race. They've told him every single reason why it wouldn't work.
Well, one thing I can agree on, this isn't an outside of the race conversation. I really, please don't think I'm thinking about other races. I'm actually thinking, and I take your point though, Kushti, because I've been that dude, where I've, been a little belligerent, but I understand better.
Yeah.
And I appreciate, y'all taking the time.
And don't get me wrong, like talking like how you've asked the question, people might have these kinds of, like what Raven says, these kinds of questions to themselves. So it's good that there's a voice that can articulate. And this is what I say that I think is missing a lot of the time with people who self-confess want the best for Black people. Their ego and their bravado shuts down anyone saying anything different, which then just brings up a million red flags, right? So the fact that you can openly ask Raven and he's willing to answer, I think that just only is a positive and a good thing. But we can all agree that there is plenty of times where it's not just for, okay, let me delve a bit deeper. It's not even devil's advocate. It's like a step worse than that, And I think that's when I'm starting to look like you don't see this with any other race. I don't understand why it's us, and it's only in the topic of Black Betterment.
Well, I'll personally apologize because I've been that person. So I will offer a personal apology, but I think this conversation for me anyway was awfully productive.
Yeah, I agree, bro.
And we're going to end the show by looking at Prevent Progress Protocol, aka 3P, and that we brought up a few weeks ago. And this is what goes on in the subconscious of many Black people when they hear of any kind of constructive stuff. There is an automatic thing to undermine progress. It's also correlated to like Black people who hate other Black people, like Black people who are not comfortable around other Black people. If a Black person is in a work environment and there's no Black people there and a new Black person comes, there might be a threat. This kind of stuff. So this is the prevent progress protocol, and it goes off, also known as 3P. And this is something we have to recognize. And how we can recognize it is as the person giving the information, very constructive, very kind, deliver things that work in the collective best interest of Black people. Also, the purpose and the starting point that we recognize that Black people have been rendered collectively inadequate and have been mistreated for hundreds of years, and still find themselves in a place of low. And then with a kind, considerate voice, you articulate the methods of how to push this forward, and then you will watch the prevent progress protocol happen in the person asks the questions, or by remaining calm and seeing how they get agitated and how they get consistently keep on going to a dark place. You realize that this is actually a protocol that's been programmed by anti-Black racism or anti-Black sentiments, whatever, that many of our community come to, like the fear of changing, the fear of being independent, the fear of making an effort. And what we do here is we highlight that, and how we can highlight that is by being on code, constructive, but always having purpose in what we're doing and clearly articulating. And what you realize when you see the consistent pattern, very important, what the pattern of the person constantly going to the negative, to the dark side, then we realize that this person is practicing the prevent progress protocol, aka 3P. There you go. I hope lessons were learned today. I hope the lessons are learned every day, and hopefully you can learn and see how things are done here to help you when you try to help Black people. There are codes, there are symbols, there are things you can use to make that process much more easier. But we're going to end there. So we're just got our last words from Empress Kushti and Brother Stanley, and then we'll join you next week. So last words, brothers and sisters.
Yeah, just another great show again, bro. I really like this topic, and I would just like to end with, although it might be a minority thinking within our community, especially, I always say the minorities have been the leaders of powerful movements that we've all benefited from. The freedom fighters were called agitators, making it uncomfortable and starting trouble for the rest of the Black people. The Queen called Mandela a terrorist, and now they've got a statue of him and they celebrate him. So in the moment, you might be perceived one way, but once it gets to a position where everyone benefits and you've broken boundaries and smashed glass ceilings, history will dictate something different than the present does. So it's always not best to go with the tide or outsiders. It's always best to go with what your heart tells you it feels right, and to move forward in that.
Thank you, Empress. Very good. And Brother Stanley, last words.
I will second Sister Kushti. Go where your heart leads you. Go where your brain, they can work in unison.
Thank you, brother. Okay, so until next week, brothers and sisters, Black Betterment, and hope you learned something this week, and hopefully you guys can jump in next week and join in. But until then, have a good time. For me, Rap Raven, and Empress Christian, Brother Stanley, Black Betterment. Thank you very much.